Welcome everybody to High and Low, a podcast about talking picture shows.
We do films that are corny, some that are horny, some that win Academy Award.
Doing all kind of movies from all kinds of genres, serving hot cakes like plates of lasagna.
Before we get going, a warning to you, you might hear some talk that's a little blue.
We sometimes cuss and we sometimes curse. We like to do it off the cuff and don't rehearse.
Now, if this sounds like your kind of show,
Tune in,
Drop out,
this is High and Low.
Hello, Vegas, a hell of a place. The showgirls have a real nice face. Oh, well, hello there, High and Low podcast listeners. You just caught me crooning one of my all-time favorite songs. It's a little song I wrote, and it's called Hello, Vegas. What's the occasion? Well, tonight, us three lowlifes are gonna pick two movies, but here's the rub, baby. One of those movies is gonna hit you in the eye like a big pizza pie, and that's the high. And that's gonna be the 1955 Artists and Models. It's a late-stage Martin and Lewis comedy, and it's a good thing, too, because dig it, cat, this other film, quote, is quite the hole in the boat. And that's gonna be 1952's Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla, starring Duke Mitchell and Sammy Petrillo. I'm Mitchell, joined today by my co-host Luke.
hey there, cool cats.
And Vonn.
Hey, swing it, babe.
Man, you guys have been to New York, haven't you?
Yeah, talk to me, baby. The Big Apple.
You ever met any kind of a great ape in any of New York's boroughs? Is that an experience you've had?
Not outside of the Brooklyn Zoo, baby.
Yeah, I saw
yeah.
a couple up in a golden tower called the Trump Tower, maybe.
Hey, a
Lord.
bunch of apes up in there.
Fucking golden-haired ape.
They needed some of Bela Lugosi's evolution and formula injected into them. Give them a little boost.
Listen up, babe. We got to take those big apes and turn them into little monkeys.
You know, I've never really met a great ape. I've met some ones that were okay, but
We have to let Darwin do his job. I'm going to inject Eric Trump to turn him from a terrible chimpanzee into a subhuman monster.
like that Simpsons joke, he's either a very dumb human or a brilliant beast.
My brilliant beast.
Yeah, we got the two movies on the podcast today. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, famous comedy duo. These were two of the biggest stars of the 1950s.
Everybody loves Jerry. Just ask him.
Hey, Jerry, babe, do the typewriter bit. It's hilarious.
It's like he's a human typewriter. Dean Martin, Jerry Lewis, the king of cool and the king of comedy. This is one of their last movies together. They got together in 1946, and then I think like 10 years to the day later, they broke up.
Something like a year after this movie came out.
They had a pretty bad split. They didn't talk to each other for like 10 years or something like that. But
one of entertainment's greatest beefs.
they made up in their later years.
They're like Dr. Dre and Eazy-E.
Exactly.
For all of our listeners who are under 50 and over 30.
Yeah, I want to say thank you so much for the demand to have us cover these two movies. I know that there was a lot of you who were looking for this matchup.
Because the fans demanded it, we're here to bring you what you want.
Yeah, all our nonagenarian fans down at the retirement home where we recorded our first 3 episodes.
This is for you, Grandma.
Ethel, Dorothy.
Jerry Lewis is so funny.
Yeah.
The way his face goes. He really paved the way for like the Robin Williams. Definitely Jim Carrey.
Oh, yeah.
Just this guy, you put him in a room and it's just, you have to deal with his bullshit nonstop. And I couldn't
sanction it.
No way. This guy's a great A buffoon.
Cannot sanction the buffoonery. Yeah, he's like the prototype comic for this like wacky, psychotic energy comic who's bouncing around the room, smashing things, getting in everyone's way, interrupting the scene.
You can't
tripping.
have a conversation with this man.
No, he never walked past a staircase that he didn't fall down. If he's carrying something, it's going to fall out of his hands and clatter noisily on the ground.
I appreciate some slapstick, though. Pratfall is always funny. I'll take that.
There's lots that I laughed at in this movie.
I was down with this duo. Like, this comedy duo worked for me, Martin and Lewis.
Yeah.
Man, Duke Mitchell and Sammy Petrillo even kind of worked for me by the end. They like won me over a little bit.
I kind of feel for them. They're kind of a sad pale imitation, but
Yeah.
in that way they're charming. It's like something that Michael Imperioli's character from The Sopranos might have produced.
Yeah. They feel underdoggy.
It's also kind of like something that you might do with your sibling. Hey, let's pretend we're Martin and Lewis and we'll do our bits and it's fun. It's weird that they're just like straight up biting their style and doing exactly what they do. But I guess we still see that these days in
Sammy Petrillo got his start with Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. He got hired to like do a comedy act with them at one point to play a younger Jerry Lewis, and then he just kind of ran with that, and he's like, that's my new bit. I'm Jerry Lewis now. I'm going to do the impression. And
I'm going to become you. I'm going to wear your skin.
I'm your new Jerry. Jerry's not amused.
No.
Jerry was never amused.
He didn't like it. He tried like everything in his power. I think at some point he ended up with control of Sammy Petrillo's contract. Like Sammy Petrillo signed a contract thinking that Jerry Lewis they were making peace and he was going to be promoted by Jerry Lewis. And Jerry Lewis just kind of used that as an opportunity to bury him, basically.
I saw that Jerry Lewis would like send his guys to go watch Sammy Petrillo's bookings.
Like crack their knuckles.
Yeah, pretty much. And then when the people, who were running the show saw them, I was like, oh, it's one of Jerry Lewis's guys. I can't, Jerry Lewis blackballed him.
That's so petty. Jerry Lewis was one of the biggest stars in America. They were millionaires, and I don't know. Can you imagine some just like it'd be like Brad Pitt? There's a Brad Pitt imitator working on like Hollywood Boulevard or something, and sending goons to break this guy down and everything.
On Nathan For You, he hires this Johnny Depp impersonator who works on whatever Hollywood Boulevard. He's just this guy who walks around dressed like Johnny Depp, and he looks like Johnny Depp. It's like if Johnny Depp was gonna do something about that.
Yeah,
guy.
exactly.
That's a real guy. He obviously is basically maybe homeless.
Hey, there's a guy who looks
right
like
on
me.
the edge.
I'm gonna sue him. I gotta make sure he never works in Hollywood. That would never happen.
It's a fine line between homeless and just like a Hollywood guy looking like he's slumming it, like an actor. Captain Jack Sparrow almost looks.
The difference is one person's wearing a $500 T-shirt and the other person is not. A celebrity will pay $50,000 to get that homeless look.
It's called Le Derelict. Hey, why don't you derelict my muffler? I don't know if that's a car's balls. Oh. See, Owen Wilson was a car.
Yeah, that's right.
Never mind.
Whatever Maynard's tow truck strap went around, that's what the car's balls are.
Oh my God,
that was
Mater's just dragging people around by their balls? That's
Don't come to these sundown towns if you can't handle it.
He should've
We're lynching.
read the parking sign a little better.
I mean, you saw Lightning McQueen's expression when that tow cable went around him. His eyes were like, oh, God.
Yeah, I still have some thoughts on cars.
Wow, this green book says I shouldn't have gone to Radiator Springs. Drag him out by his balls.
Rope him up one nut at a time.
I wonder if they have truck nuts in cars.
You would think.
What would they be basing them on?
Yeah, because there's no animals, eh?
There's no mammals.
I love that. Now that we've done our serious episode about cars, we're really digging into all the stuff we wanted to.
Yeah, exactly. These are the
Yeah,
side
we did a
notes.
serious episode on cars. No fucking around on that one at all. I'd love to talk more about Sammy Petrillo's biography later.
Yeah.
Should we jump right into artists and models?
Artists, models.
Yeah, right off the bat with this one, you've got it's an amazing looking opening, I thought.
That's VistaVision, baby.
Hell yeah. It's not Technicolor?
No,
That's like a Technicolor competitor?
it's a Technicolor competitor.
It looks like Technicolor.
They
It's
went
beautiful.
the way of gimbals.
Yeah, it's fucking... yeah, the movie looks awesome. And the credits start and you've got, beautiful looking broads, models, if you will,
Yeah.
holding up signs that are the credits.
The Paramount logo with the VistaVision. It's a widescreen 35mm format that Paramount engineers created, and they only used it for 7 years, I think. Then it later got brought back to be used for the special effects shots in Star Wars. It was a very sophisticated manner of filming things. It
It's
looks really
eye-popping,
great.
Yeah.
man. It looks better than any movie made today.
Yeah.
Everything looks so washed out and gray by
It's-
comparison.
Yeah, it's one of the most vibrant things.
You've got the opening credits, just the solid color backgrounds with the models. The whole movie's about the models and the artists.
Yeah.
Dean Martin's an artist.
The people who pose and the people who draw them. Or,
All the models are white. I can't tell them apart. I think one of them at least was Anita Ekberg. She appears in this movie a few times. She was one of the biggest sex symbols of the 50s.
Was there anyone in this movie who wasn't white?
a couple of kids
There was
and
kids and musicians,
some
maybe.
musicians.
Yeah.
That's about it. and the kids were musicians.
But yeah, it's like
Monochromatic.
1955 movie. Like,
It's understandable, but just from our perspective, it looks weird, and I can't tell people apart. I'm used to more diversity in movies now.
Yeah, everybody's just kind of got that done-up look. All the guys got their hair slicked back. All the ladies got all the makeup and their hair done just right.
it's just so cool to watch a movie from the mid 1950s and just see that whole aesthetic, the way people were dressing, all the style, the way the set decoration, the way all the rooms look.
I love the pajamas. A nightcap.
You guys remember that Don't Wake Daddy board game?
Yeah.
It's that
Board
outfit.
game.
Yeah, I remember Don't Wake Daddy.
Nice sleeping outfit.
You go around the
like,
edge, and then if you, like, every so often, Dad will wake up and be like, and you have to go back to your room.
beat you viciously.
Yeah.
Are you? That's a real game?
That's a real
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. Hey, look, Daddy works hard. You can't be waking him in the middle of the night.
You wake Daddy, then you pick his bludgeon. So yeah, this movie looks great. Credits roll. We open with some beautiful hand-painted billboard. Dean Martin's just painting this, it's like a smoking billboard. It's like a smoking ad.
Yeah, it's got a big, like, beautiful woman's face on the billboard with a big hole where her mouth is because it's designed to be able to make it look like she's actually smoking, and, like, big puffs of smoke will come out of her mouth. So
Pretty elaborate advertising. I've never...
Damn. It made me want to smoke.
Big time.
I picked the wrong week to quit.
Man, it's like a futuristic, complex billboard because it needs all these, like, mechanical trappings inside to make it work, which is just...
Why would you send Lewis in charge of the fucking mechanics?
Well, nobody knew this guy had a raging comic book addiction. Like,
Yeah.
all this guy does is read comic books all day long, then dream about them. And it's 1955. It's not like you have all the endless selection of comic books you have these days. He's just reading the same, like, 20 issues again
they're
and again
new.
and again.
There's nothing there.
No, I can't choke up the smoke machine and gotta read Fat Lady.
It's like, hey, yeah.
That lady!
Dean Martin's up there painting the thing, and then like the two big bosses show up underneath. And they're
Mr.
like,
Trim,
Mr.
who's a
Trim.
name I thought you might love, and Mr. Kelly is their boss, I think, and Mr. Trim is the guy who
he owns the tobacco company. They want to see how this.
Evil
is
man.
here for a demonstration. And you ready? And so Eugene is Lewis's character. And he's like,
Eugene
okay,
Fullstop.
Eugene, turn on that smoke machine.
The darn fool turned it the wrong way.
No, oh, no.
And he gets sucked up into the machine.
Help me, it's gonna kill me. It's gonna...
It's a pretty great comedy bit. He's getting pulled into the machine, and then his comics get like sucked into the air intake. His go-to comic is Bat Lady. It's like a parody of Batman sort of thing. It's pretty cool.
Is it
It's like a
pre-Batgirl?
sexy bat lady. Yeah.
I think it is pre-Batgirl, maybe. I don't know, but
She kicks ass and he's obsessed with her.
Yeah, why didn't you have your homework done on that? Man?
well,
You're a comic
You're the
book
comic
expert.
book.
there's only so much, so deep I could dive into it. But I did want to read that. It was pretty cool being like a semi-comic book geek. Comic books are sort of a central plot element in this movie. I wasn't expecting that necessarily. I didn't know that was what it was about when I picked it.
Really interesting choice. They use them for a series of plot devices. Like,
They're not taken seriously as an art form.
Well, around this time was in the mid 1950s. I think 2 years prior, the Comics Code Authority had been established. The psychologist came out with this book, The Seduction of the Innocent, and it was all about how like Batman and Robin are gay together. Kids should not be allowed to read these books, or they're going to turn gay. And so there was a moral panic surrounding comic books around
That was
this time.
what the Comics Code Authority was based on.
it was
This guy's idea that Robin and Batman are gay,
basically, yeah, that was like the central premise of this.
which they're not.
No. And his book, The Seduction of the Innocent, was all about that. And the violence element and everything that they get into a little bit in this. But people thought that comic books were corrupting the youth. And for several decades, every comic book that came out in America had this little Comics Code Authority sticker in the... It was like an organization I think the industry came up with themselves to like police themselves. Because I think after this book came out, you start having like congressional hearings and
yeah, all of a sudden
witch
people
hunts
care about
and-
what's happening with
yeah,
comic books. And
fun.
The TikTok of its day.
Yeah,
boy.
exactly.
We gotta
Yeah.
ban these things.
rid
Why?
of it.
Because we're old and we don't understand it.
And I think this movie is sort of gently skewering that notion a little bit because it is just so silly.
It's
but-
pretty clumsy in this movie and felt pretty tacked on, I thought.
But it's interesting because, for the past little while, comics have been the dominant cultural force. They were
Yeah.
right all along.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Yeah, they should have banned them back in the 1950s outright.
Batman turned me gay.
And the frogs.
Now I can't get off without a woman in a bat costume stepping on my junk.
Yeah.
It's a pretty common kink, but I'd hate waiting in line.
Just like Robin does to Batman.
Eugene's mucking about, and while he does this, he knocks over a couple of paint buckets, and boy,
Hilarious.
yeah, it lands right on Mr. what
Mr.
was it?
Trim
Mr.
and
Trim.
Mr.
Yeah.
Kelly.
And
So
this-
Mr. Trim and Kelly are none too impressed.
This whole billboard, it's designed to blow out smoke, but because it sucked in his comic books, it's turned them into confetti, and it just blows out the comic books like confetti, and they land all over these guys, and they look like
How am I going to sell cigarettes like this?
This is outrageous.
People won't take me seriously. They'll think I'm just coming from a party or going to a party.
I love the look of that colorful paint. It's like yellow and red paint.
Yeah.
It looks so fucking
Yeah.
crazy.
It's a whole fiasco. A cop shows up too, and he's standing down below with the bosses, and he's like, "What's going on here?" And he gets covered in the paint as
Naturally.
well. And, my
Yeah.
God.
This is where the movie really had me on its side. Take
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
cop.
Peg.
All it needed was a wealthy dowager.
It costs them their jobs, though. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis end up getting fired by this billboard painting company.
Yeah, and that's not the first time that Eugene's done something to screw up Dean Martin. Ricky is Dean Martin's character. Screw up Ricky's career opportunities. The guy can't hold down a job.
So they're roommates, and they have like what appears to be Phoebe and Monica's apartment from Friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rent controlled. They got
This
in
is
back
a-
when it cost
It's a beautiful
like 20
apartment.
cents a month.
Yeah, and they're like splitting a kidney bean for dinner, cutting it in half.
I got me laughing, like something out of the Looney Tunes. I'm like, just the idea of a person just cutting a kidney bean up like it's a ham or something like that.
Yeah, Lewis is making a big show of it like that, and he's, acting like it's a steak and making a big chewing show and like, yeah.
Really savoring it. He's using the power of his imagination. He pours like half a bottle of ketchup over it as like a seasoning, and he's chowing down on that too.
All that shtick, pretending to open up a bottle of champagne,
And
and
Rick-
he's got
Ricky's-
ketchup all over his hand, and Rick goes and like shakes his hand, and he's got ketchup on his hand. Like, this is funny bits.
Funny bits. Ricky's kind of, again, he's having a bit too much of his shit, though. He's pretty annoyed that he's living with a clown, and the clown keeps getting him fired.
Yeah, I would be too.
All I ever got to eat is beans, because every time I find a job, you lose it. He's just...
Yeah, he's barely tolerating Jerry Lewis as it is. This is the last straw. Jerry Lewis has pushed him to the edge, so he's gonna move out. He's like, I'm out of here. I'll write you a letter from another place.
Yeah,
and he walks.
a divorce is the only answer. You can have full custody of the beans and the bat lady and the apartment.
That's funny. But this guy packs up his whole life in a suitcase. Could you imagine?
He's like, you can, yeah, exactly. You keep everything. I'm going on the run now. Like, I've had it with you.
It's the 50s. Like, what did you have?
Yeah.
You didn't have a fucking record collection. You didn't have...
No.
You didn't have anything. You just had
when I was like
some clothes.
18, I had like a little bit of clothes and some CDs, and like that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's like what he has, but minus the CDs. But like these aren't 18-year-olds.
No, these
They're
guys-
clearly are pushing 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually, at one point, he says to Jerry Lewis, like, I'm going to turn into an old spinster from you because you keep scaring women away from me or something.
Spinster.
Yeah, he's like, I'm like 32. I should be married with 5 kids already.
Look at me.
He's a looker.
Yeah. He's pretty
Yeah.
cool. He's
So-
pretty cool.
Yeah, and Rick wants to be a painter, and he's quite good at it, as we saw him painting the billboard. And Eugene wants to be a children's book writer.
That
a
tracks.
comic book writer, a
Yeah.
writer.
He has the mind of a child, so he's
Yeah.
can write a book for them.
He's an obnoxious, horrible person, like all children's book authors.
He's quite simple.
Take that,
He's a
Roald
bit
Dahl.
of a... Yeah. Who's the guy that wrote North? Fuck that guy.
Oh, fuck him forever.
He's a monster.
He'll get
If I know his name. Yeah, him
If
and
I ever
Reiner.
find out his name,
You and Reiner. Watch your backs. You're going to get yours.
we're gonna ruin your holidays.
They're probably eating steak and drinking champagne together right now.
It's kind of a cute relationship that Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin have. It's a little weird. I think a modern audience might even read some homosexual subtext into it because like I can picture going on Letterboxd and seeing a bunch of reviews. Like it's clearly that Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis are gay here. I'm not sure if that's what was intended, but
Yeah, they're
There's
like
just a couple of confirmed bachelors.
they're like Charlie and
from It's Always Sunny and
Oh, and
Frank
Frank.
Reynolds. Yeah.
yeah, they're like Charlie and Frank. Frank.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
they're like Charlie and Frank.
They're just best buds. I think.
Or they're gay. I mean, they're probably gay. To me,
Well-
it seems they're gay.
It's like kind of making jokes about like, hey, isn't it weird when men live together? Because Jerry Lewis is sort of playing the wife role, and he's got like the apron on. He's like, I'm gonna cook you some beans, Dean Martin. You like that? Dean Martin's the man of the relationship. He's like, why don't you just settle down, you dizzy dame?
So yeah, Lewis does a sad face, and then Rick reconsiders moving out, and then I'm playing pretend. So he puts like plywood on a workbench, and he pretends it's a piano, and now they're having like shared delusions because they can hear a piano.
Yeah.
This is like cosmic horror. These guys,
They
Only
haven't
when
eaten in
Eugene
2
plays
days.
it.
yeah. So he sings
Ricky
some
can't hit
pretend
the
song.
right notes.
Although you're stuck with beans, there's money in your jeans when you pretend.
And this it read so sad to me because I'm like, these guys are singing about pretending to eat so they can pretend that they've like had food.
They're in abject poverty because of Jerry Lewis's comedy bits.
Well, it's like the Lost Boys in Hook. They're sitting there eating all their other pretend food. Yeah, and like Martin's reflection is even like harmonizing with him. He's like, oh, when you pretend. And his reflection's harmonizing back with him, and it's like moving independently.
It looked great.
Yeah, it was like Evil Dead 2 has like that same effect.
It was brilliant.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, and then Eugene turned into a deadite and ripped it. Ripped Ricky's head off.
Ripped his
God.
damn heart out.
Even Deadites aren't as sadistic and annoying as Jerry
It's
Lewis.
Jerry Lewis.
Oh,
yeah.
God, yeah.
The kingdom of hell can't conjure up something quite as irritating as that.
Dino goes to bed, and then Lewis is like looking out the window, still thinking about pretend. And we hear like that upstairs neighbor being just yelling at his wife, being like, "You lousy steak!"
You're cooking steak. Do you know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that lousy steak and throw it out the window.
He just grabs a plate and gets that steak.
Yeah, this gigantic steak.
The steak does look lousy. It looks like absolute shit.
Yeah.
It's like a porterhouse, but it looks all gray. And
It's
like
okay
gristly.
if you're starving, but
yeah.
by modern standards, yeah, it's definitely not a. It looks pretty well done.
No, it was boiled a little too hard.
Yeah, the guy's right. His wife, she needs to get tuned up.
Yeah.
Pow, right to the moon.
One of these days.
Gotta go find me a dame that'll boil me a steak right.
Yeah, Jerry Lewis got his hands on this steak now, and he's eating it, and he's still singing the play pretend song.
The happiness you find is all a state of mind.
Hey, Ricky, you
When
want some of this
pretend.
steak? But Ricky's
I
like,
don't got no steak.
I don't want to play pretend no more. I told you already. But he doesn't realize.
I just want to mope.
He thinks he can smell the steak in the bedroom, Dean Martin, but he's like, can't be.
Yeah.
Jerry Lewis gets the whole damn thing.
Yeah, but I think Eugene had a bit too much steak because then he has one of his classic comic book nightmares where he's just screaming out stuff from comic books.
Vincent is hit. Zuba fires her X-36 Mark IV laser gun. Pew, pew. Vincent will fly over back to his homogenized space station a million light years away.
Do they ever explain why he screams this out when he sleeps?
It's just it's just his dreams. He's just screaming out
He
his
imagines
dreams.
stuff from reading comic books. It gives
guy-
him dreams.
Okay.
Yeah, he has to be the center of attention even in his sleep. It's
So
really,
He just has to be obnoxious at
It's
24/7.
It's like a pure coincidence that he happens to be screaming out a secret government formula in his sleep or
yeah,
whatever.
no, totally, yeah. It's
Okay. I thought like maybe he had fillings that were picking up radio broadcasts that were like transmitting stuff into his. I don't know.
Oh, that was
from that
your
metal
own.
plate that
That
he
was
got
my-
from back in Korea.
That's my headcanon. Yeah.
So Rick throws his ass out on the fire escape because he won't shut up while he's sleeping.
Wakes the whole apartment building up. This whole apartment building is like it's a good community kind of. There's the landlady and there's
Yeah.
Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. Then you got like Shirley MacLaine and Abby who'll pop in later. I think they live in the same building
They're
too.
the neighbors upstairs, and they send the landlady down to complain. They've made a complaint with the landlady
Yeah,
about
because
the
Jerry
noise.
Lewis is so
Snitches.
loud.
Class traders. Kathleen Freeman plays Miss Muldoon, the landlady.
I
Who's
gotta
a frequent Lewis collaborator. She was the nun from the Blues Brothers,
Okay.
and a character actress you've seen. I recognize her right away from like a million movies. But
Okay.
yeah.
She was
The
good at
Penguin,
this.
Sister Mary Stigmata.
Yeah. She was like a mother to those blues boys. Yeah, if you lived above Jerry Lewis, come on, you would definitely be calling the landlady. He's like a human fog siren, or is that a thing? A fog siren?
A foghorn.
Foghorn.
Yeah, or a fog siren. I don't-
Yeah.
He's some sort of, weird mishmash between a foghorn and a police siren. And,
I'd arrange for him to have a little accident if he was a neighbor of mine.
yeah, something. Oh, the ladder of the hatch below him on the fire escape when he was sleeping just suddenly opened and he fell.
No idea.
Flights.
Nobody saw anything.
Yeah.
Everybody saw it. Nobody's ratting me out. Everybody wants this fucker dead.
Everybody's just standing on their balconies watching him plummet to his death.
He's on the ground bleeding for like 3 hours. They're like, don't call the ambulance.
This is New York. How can there be 50 witnesses? Nobody saw what happened.
It's like that.
The Kitty Genovese
Kitty
story or whatever.
Genovese,
Why is nobody coming to help me?
We all just assumed somebody else called the ambulance. Sorry, Jerry.
Bystander effect. My God, the bystander effect killed Jerry Lewis. What a tragedy.
Sadly, that doesn't happen. He ends up surviving.
Yeah, he has a happy ending.
This Muldoon gives him a talking to, and he's like,
Like, all right, now, from now on, I'll sleep with Band-Aids over my mouth.
Scouts honor.
Muldoon mentions there's this artist working downstairs. That's why he needs to be quiet. We cut to a nice pair of legs. Mm-hmm. And it's a woman drawing another woman in a bat lady costume.
Is this how they did comic book drawings back then?
People pose for comic book drawings. Like, I've got that Alex Ross mythology book, and it shows all the him, like, drawing models and stuff like that.
Okay.
But just in, like, a stunning coincidence, Jerry Lewis, his favorite all-time comic book, and he's a comic book head, happens to be the artist, lives in the apartment right below him, and he didn't even know.
Yeah, their biggest fan.
They're the ones who complained about him, so he has it in his head that he's going to go down there and apologize.
Yeah.
In person.
And as he's going, he runs into Bat Lady.
And he gets a real hit. The top of his shoes pop real good.
He just like falls down the stairs.
Oh, I'm going to do 2 pratfalls for you.
Yeah, and then he's like goes back into the apartment, but it's the wrong apartment.
And he's like, you're not the bat lady, you're the fat lady.
It's a fat lady.
He's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Ivan.
Not nice, lady. And then he goes and he tries to go tell Ricky all about it, and Ricky can't make high nor heaven. Are you talking about the fat lady or the bat lady? I'm talking nuts.
There's the bat lady and the fat lady and the bat lady.
But
Yeah.
he pops his head out the door, and the fat lady is waiting right out there. And he's like, the fat lady's out there. And Dean Martin's like, the fat lady or the bat lady? And he's like, look for yourself. Dean Martin pokes his head out. What's that he gets smashed on the head with?
It was a
water bomb.
water bomb.
Okay. Yeah, the fat lady
Good bit.
bonks him really good with that. Smashes it right over his head.
You don't see too many of those around anymore.
No, I remember
That's
them from
the
my
classic.
childhood.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the classic design.
That's what you got beat with when I got beat with when I was a kid.
Did you?
No. That'd be bad,
man.
actually. They were all
Yeah,
rubbery. That
I
would
got
hurt a lot.
beat with lots of stuff, but not one of those.
That'd be good if you put like rocks in it or like something hard you would need to put in
It's
there.
a solid sack of rubber. I feel like it would probably break from the resistance with rocks. I don't know. I don't know how it would break with hot water in it. I feel like it'd be pretty flexible.
But yeah, I don't know how it worked, but Dino's all wet, baby.
That's what confused me because it's like
Hey,
it
well,
totally.
let it be.
She hits him so hard with it that it just it turns into like a hat, and it
It looks sort of like a tricorner hat type of thing. You know, it's like
yeah.
a nice, got a good brim on it.
His head's right through it. He probably has brain damage after that.
He's like, "Hey, Josephine." Napoleon. Why don't you sit on my face, Josephine?
Starts making horse noises.
I can't do Dean Martin. It sounds more like my Bing Crosby.
They're sending me to Elba, babe.
I don't think I can really do a Dean Martin either, but I can kind of do just like a generic cool crooner, and I feel like people don't know what Dean Martin sounds like these days.
The kids, that's the
They'll
problem. The
just-
kids don't know what Dean Martin sounds like these days. Somewhere their values, they went astray.
That's the problem with the world today, if you ask me.
I think Dino sounds more like a typical fucking Ginzo from
Yeah.
from the East Coast. I think he's from Ohio originally, but
In all his television appearances, the Tonight Show and all those, he's always doing a shtick where he's slightly drunk, so he's got like
Shtick.
a shtick. He's got a bit of a slur to him. I don't know.
I think
It's
it's
mysterious.
a shtick. I think
like,
it's a shtick. He lived a long time for a guy who chain smoked and drank
Yeah.
alcohol, supposedly.
and unfortunately, he did eventually lung cancer did get him in like the late 90s, I think, mid to
Yeah,
late
95.
90s.
He was born in 1917, died in 95. So he's 78 years old. This is a good run for
Yeah.
a guy who lived
Yeah.
that hard.
Not bad, not bad. The doctors kind of told him you'll need to get like surgery, life-saving surgery if you want to keep going, and he just kind of made the choice not to get the surgery, I guess.
I don't fucking think so.
You're not going to cut me open, Doc.
I don't like the world today. Too many long
Jeez, I don't.
Problem's the long hair's
Ding,
one.
ding, ding, ding.
Nobody slicks their hair back anymore.
Yeah, so he went out gracefully.
When Kevorkian pulls the plug, that's assisted suicide.
Hey,
It's the 1990s, babe. We got an Armenian doctor over here who'll kill us.
when flatline rhythms start to sway, then you'll pray that I'll stay.
That's probably his last words.
He
He's saying that to his family.
So anyway,
He died very tragically. Everyone was very sad. The whole nation mourned for years.
Nobody here's mourning
Yeah.
Dean Martin that hard. He did okay.
No.
I thought
yeah,
we're
I'm
still
gonna go.
flying our flags at
Yeah.
half-mast here.
Mourn Sammy Petrillo. Don't mourn Dean Martin.
I definitely mourn Sammy and Duke Mitchell.
Yeah.
So Abigail is fresh out of the shower.
This was
and she's
sexy.
wearing heels. In the 50s, women wore heels even in the
Yeah.
shower.
They were their bath shoes.
They're bath pumps.
She's not gonna put on some sexy bunny slippers. She
Yeah.
gotta put on the heels, man. Show off those gams. I
So
mean,
this is Dorothy Malone. Dorothy Malone is Abby, a beautiful actress. Bat Lady, that's Shirley MacLaine. That's Bessie. That's her roommate and friend.
Yeah, Abby's the artist. They both live in apartment 4A, I think. They're kind of a flip side of the coin to Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. The two of them live like on the floor below, and
Yeah.
they're two sexy young professionals. One's the artist of the comic book. One's the model and receptionist of the comic book company.
They can hold down a job.
Exactly. They've got it more together than Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin.
Bessie is the great Shirley MacLaine. She's like obsessed with her horoscopes and stuff. She's very loopy, very wacky.
She starts out with the horoscopes, then she gets into the numerology later, and she's very she sees in the horoscopes that she's supposed to be with Jerry Lewis,
Yeah,
I guess.
And she talks the talk and she walks the walk.
She's so horny for Jerry. This whole movie is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I love Shirley MacLaine. She's so
She's
fucking great.
adorable and
Yeah, she's super
hot
cute.
in this, but yeah, she's quite young. She's like 20 something, early 20s, I think, in this.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's got like that kind of naive, innocent quality, but also she's just super, super hot.
She's really quirky. She's funny. I liked her better in The Apartment. A much better movie all around.
That's with Jack Lemmon.
Yeah.
I still have to watch that.
It's a real star-making performance. It's like, holy shit, who's this?
This was her.
She's Warren Beatty's big sister.
That
which I just
surprised
learned,
me to hear.
researching this.
And I've only ever really known her as like an old lady. This was my first time seeing her as a young woman, and I'm smitten. I fell in love with her. I was gonna say I'm like Jerry Lewis in this movie, but he needs to be convinced a little bit.
Hey, lady.
He just doesn't. Yeah,
You're
he
like
can't-
a cat.
He's
hot
not
coil.
picking up what she's putting down.
Shirley MacLaine's first movie was The Trouble with Harry from 1955, an Alfred Hitchcock movie, and so I think this must have been her second movie. It came out the same year, 1955 as well. That's got to be a lesser known Hitchcock. Has anyone heard Trouble with Harry? I've never.
I've heard of it.
I wonder if
Ain't
that's.
never. I don't know. I always thought Harry's were perfectly trouble-free.
Abigail is pitching to Mr. Murdoch, the comic book mogul, her boss.
He runs the entire comic book show
Yeah.
all over the East Coast.
Yeah, and he's a kind of a sad sack. His wife's like gonna leave him, and his business is failing, and he's having issues. He's like, we need more blood. We gotta have more blood and violence in these comic books. And wait till they start showing blood on TV in full color for free. My wife's giving me the knife if this doesn't work, and I'm getting the axe.
He's like over the top with it. Like he wants like the ultimate gore in his comics.
Yeah,
Like,
because
he's
he
like
knows that's what sells.
We need more decapitations. We need disembowelments. We need all kinds of whatever gross thing you can come up with.
Yeah.
We got to sell comics here. She's not into it though. Abby, she's like, I guess Bat Lady must be a more wholesome comic.
Yeah, well, I don't think she's into the whole exploitation scene. She just kind of wants to have a, bat lady kick some ass. Just go and solve crimes.
That must have been like the one Bat descriptor that wasn't trademarked by DC Comics at that time. They're like, what can we call him Batgirl? No, that's a thing. Can we
Was
call him
that
Batman?
was Batgirl a thing by the mid 50s? Like Batman was only like 15 years old or
Well, Batgirl would appear in like the Adam West show in the 60s, so it wouldn't surprise me if she was around as early as the 50s or something, but I'm not sure.
but Bat Lady.
Batgirl's first appearance was in Batman number 139, April 1961.
Okay, so they actually ended.
Years out.
And DC Comics might have got the idea from this movie.
Whoa, check out the juicy knockers on Batgirl.
Imagine if Batman was a sexy lady.
Imagine if instead of wearing tight underpants, he wore tight underpants, but he was a lady.
And he wasn't with Robin no more.
He's obsessed with Bat Lady. He's describing Bat Lady's features, and he's like,
Oh, and she has such wonderful legs. And
Bessie's like, oh, you mean these legs like these?
he's like, no, not like that.
It's hilarious how much Shirley MacLaine is trying to tempt Jerry Lewis. Like, she's just flashing breast and leg and
He
showing
just can't
everything.
figure out her secret identity.
No.
He's so clueless. It's pathetic.
I don't want those legs. I want Bat Lady's legs.
Yeah.
You're a nice lady, but you're not Bat Lady.
It's like his literal dreams are about to come true.
And it's
Yeah.
ridiculous how he's describing Bat Lady, too. He's like, Bat Lady's got nice lips, like 2 pieces of liver that you could kiss all over. And it's like, yeah, that does sound sexy.
When you're only eating like a single kidney bean for dinner every night, liver's the best thing in the world.
Goddamn right. So Rick and Eugene were at the office. They're trying to get Rick's art in to get a foot in the door with these people.
Yeah.
And Rick's like, oh, pretend she's the Bat Lady or something, and why don't you kiss her to distract her? And
It's like, okay, I guess I'll kiss this beautiful woman. I don't know why I'd want to do that.
Whatever you say, Rick. I'm the
no.
submissive in this relationship. I do whatever you say.
We needed a scene of Dean Martin like beating Jerry Lewis with a belt or something just to like show who's the dominant in this relationship. But
That was implied. That happened off screen.
it's evident. It's self-evident.
Do you think that was true off camera as well?
Oh, good question. I got the impression that Jerry Lewis was a bit of a authoritarian off camera.
He's a cruel sadist.
He's like, I know comedy. He would go into like comedy shows and be like, we're going to do it this way. The director's like, but I wanted to do it this way. And he's like, no. So he was actually a mean baby off camera, not a friendly baby.
His tantrums weren't charming.
I don't think he was a nice man.
He did
Did you guys ever listen to his interview on WTF with Mark Maron?
No, that would be
This was
super
late in his
interesting.
life. It was pretty interesting. He's like, okay, I'm nervous to talk to this guy, and I hear he's a real fucking jerk.
Yeah.
And it's like, so what was that? What like working with Dean Martin? And he's like,
What do you think?
it was good. Just giving him fucking nothing. Like, what are you doing on this? And it ended much shorter. Like, normally he'll talk for like an hour plus with his guests, and it's like his handlers are like, okay, Jerry wants to go now, or Jerry has to go. And it's
got
like
someplace
20
I gotta
minutes
be.
in, he's like, oh, okay, thanks.
It's like Gallagher levels.
There was a really weird episode of Comedy Bang Bang that Tim Heidecker was on, and he left after like 45 minutes, and for like 20 minutes, I thought it was a bit, and then like they were doing the plugs and he didn't come back. I'm like, he just left in the middle of Comedy Bang Bang. I've never seen that
Wow,
before.
Like
Really?
in a huff, like offended. Or?
I don't know. He kind of like, he wasn't digging what was going on that much. Like he was sort of he wasn't really participating in any of the hijinks, and then he's just like, sorry, I have to go, and then he just like left. And it really
Scott's just
surprised
like,
me.
okay.
Yeah.
You know what though? That could be a Heidecker bit. Even
Kind of. I
just
was
kind
thinking
of a
that
bit,
too a little
yeah.
bit.
He's
Yeah.
like, I'm doing Jerry Lewis today.
Yeah, I'm leaving. Yeah, I've had enough. I'm leaving, and just like play it seriously, like he'd never come back. That could be a Heidecker bit.
Or he just said that and just sat silently in the studio for the rest of the episode.
The Tim and Eric movie.
I have
It's
not seen
so
that.
fucking funny, dude. You haven't seen it?
It's
No.
really
Oh,
funny.
fuck. It's fucking hilarious.
I don't know
I
what
watched it 3 times in like 1 week.
I love their skits and stuff. I've watched them on YouTube mostly.
So Bessie goes to Murdoch, and then Abby comes in. I think Dino kisses her by accident.
Jerry Lewis gives her a smooch. It's the comedy bit where Dean Martin is trying to get Jerry Lewis to distract Shirley MacLaine by kissing her, and so Shirley MacLaine is really into it, kissing Jerry Lewis, but she does leave the room at one point. They're like, okay, when she comes back into the room, give her a big smooch. And it just so happens that Abby comes back into the room, and Jerry Lewis gives her a big smooch, and she's not into it.
No. Can you blame her?
Lady, that kiss wasn't for you. And if I had known, I wouldn't have sent a boy to do a man's job. She slaps him and she's like, well, he can tell him, the man, that the job is filled.
There's such witty repartee.
He's sorry he kissed you, aren't you, Eugene?
No, actually, I like that a lot.
I felt things I've never felt before.
Yeah, we get this weird scene where Murdoch's looking around the office and there's the water cooler and Eugene's sitting behind it. Jerry Lewis, his head's all like stretched out and it looks all silly like a funhouse mirror.
Yeah, they're like observing each other, Mr. Murdoch and Jerry Lewis, through the water cooler. They don't seem to quite understand what's going on.
They're like, what's happening here?
There's a weird shape on the other side of this.
We're underwater, all of us.
Eventually, Jerry Lewis pops his head out from the back, and they're like, "Hey, there's a guy sitting there."
I'd like to pitch my books to you, and it's Gordon the Goose and Freddie the Field Mouse, and
He's like, oh, I'm not into these kitty things. And he's like, here's what I want you to do there, son. You want to do something for me? You see that little window over there off the 12-story building? Why don't you jump out of it?
Good advice.
Finally gives him the advice that we all want.
Yeah. Save everyone a lot of trouble.
That's what I would have said. And then this... in an increasingly crazy turn of events, this woman comes and has this shitty little boy, like maybe a 12-year-old boy.
This must be George Foghorn Winslow.
Is that his name?
He was a renowned child actor of the time.
Oh, really?
He was a child actor of the time.
I wasn't sure if his
I'm
voice...
Foghorn Winslow. Fuck you, lady.
That's just like an Alan Smithy name they give to any boy actor they put on set because,
Foghorn Winslow.
Yeah, they're like, call him Foghorn Winslow. Oh, another boy got caught up in the camera gears and died. Oh, get another one, slap the Foghorn Winslow name on him.
This kid's fucking hilarious, though, because he talks like John Wayne, kind of. Hey, Bat Lady stinks. I like blood. I'll throw this jug of acid in your face, you mophead. He's just a fucking terror.
He's like a surly longshoreman.
Yeah.
It doesn't even go anywhere, this whole plot point. I was like, oh, they're going to have to babysit him in a bunch of
hijinks. Who is this shithead kid and what is he doing? And this is just it. He comes in, terrorizes the office.
Scene.
He grabs the letter opener off the table and he's just standing with it. And he's like, what is this, a dagger? And they're like, no. And
is this a dagger before me, pilgrim?
He throws it at Jerry Lewis's face. It almost kills him.
I'll disfigure and maim you. He's like little kid. He talks like that.
You'll never forget your meeting with Foghorn Winslow.
Man, this movie was kind of winning me over.
There's some funny bits. It looks great. They wind up where Eugene has the water cooler from earlier just dumped all in his pants, and
of course.
And you never actually see Jerry Lewis would never debase himself to this. It's always just looking down at some poor guy who had to have a water cooler in his pants. You never see his face in it. And the kid's like, oh, look, Niagara Falls. We can pretend it's our honeymoon. I'll bring the barrel. And then he's out of the movie forever.
That comedy bit's over. I felt like watching this movie that it's probably like going to see a Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis act where it's like, here's a song number, here's a comedy bit, here's a song number, here's a comedy bit, rather than a really super satisfying, great plot overall. It's just here's the experience of going to see Martin and Lewis in the theater.
Yeah, but there is a weird plot through it. It gets into Cold War espionage and shit later on.
Yeah, it's something out of a Godzilla movie. The third act.
Oh,
it's bizarre.
The plot
Jerry
goes,
Lewis and Dean Martin are terrorizing a town while there's some serious government shit going on.
Wherever the plot needs to go, it goes without necessarily a rhyme or
What's
reason.
the next bit? I can walk around in wet pants. That's funny.
We've been doing that lately. Let's get that one on camera.
Just hiding his incontinence.
Rick follows Abby to her models, and she's going to draw these models. One of them's Anita Ekberg. And Rick's like, "Oh, I'll model for you," and like sparks are flying, and they're all like,
Well, it's
flirting.
really. I found there was an uncomfortable aspect to Dean Martin and Abby's relationship in this, where she's like not into him, but he's following her around town. She says like, "You've been following me for 2 hours." He basically follows her from Murdoch's office back to the modeling agency to do some work.
God, can you?
Sometimes you just gotta wear them down.
Yeah, exactly.
It's wearing them down. In the 50s, it took you 2 hours to get anywhere.
Yeah. No didn't mean no then. No meant follow me for 2 hours until I gradually invite you into my
Playing hard to get.
Yeah,
you get these
exactly.
models, you get them all in a room together. You can just walk right up to them and grab them by the.
Okay,
Hang on.
Ivan.
It's like so many YouTube videos nowadays where women will like film a guy, like a creepy guy who just follows them for 2 hours or something, and you're like, this is very disturbing. It's menacing. She's menaced by him.
You don't get it. They like it when you watch them buy newspapers and eggs.
Yeah, totally. He's like modeling then for her and rubbing up on her and grabbing her and like trying to kiss her, and she's like, and like her bosom is heaving, and she's like trying to resist his charm.
She is
It's
like,
a lot.
after all, I
can?
am just a silly woman. Of course, I love to be kissed and held and tossed around, but not by someone like you, Dean Martin.
I
Please
have the
leave.
same impulses as anybody.
But she is very clearly like trying to kick him out of the building, being like, I'm not into this. And he's like, well, maybe you will if I pinch you on your bottom, toots, kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
he's just really pushing it. But of course, the movie's not presenting it like it's creepy or anything. They're like, look how charming Dean Martin is, and he's really winning her over. It's great.
I think maybe in the 50s, I wasn't there. I think that's probably
Maybe
how
there-
you woo a girl.
That's how the game was played back then.
Yeah.
There was an expectation. She's like, of course I say no, but I want him to pinch my bottom a bit. And then, So for all you young fellas out there, why don't you go and give her a try?
You guys want to be alphas like me and Dino?
Why don't you sing them a song, sweep them off their feet, give the tush a little pinch.
Oh, who's the alpha in the Rat Pack? Definitely Sinatra.
Sinatra.
Yeah. Like everybody else is submissive to him. Yeah. But
Sammy's a little sub beta
Oh, God.
cuck.
I was watching a Rat Pack video earlier, and for some reason, one of the jokes was Frank Sinatra kept like pinching Sammy Davis Jr. on the bottom and like slapping his bottom and stuff, and Sammy Davis Jr. would jump up like, oh, like it was pretty funny, but
I just got to show him who's boss, babe.
yeah. But yeah, it should be said, Frank Sinatra was like a super progressive guy for the era. Like he would I think this was a time when there was still certain venues where black people couldn't perform, and Frank Sinatra would be like, well, I'm not performing there unless Sammy can go in and perform there and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
for the time he was big on that, and he would always be like, there needs to be more black people in this band for his shows.
Yeah, like these guys can't swing.
Yeah.
Can we get some of the players from Count Basie's theater up in Harlem, please?
Yeah.
Those guys know how to fucking play.
They're playing too flat.
Flat.
Yeah, I don't know. Sammy Davis was an interesting guy because he got into like, there's pictures of him hanging out with like Anton LaVey. I guess he was involved with Satanism a little
I think he
I
was.
worship the dark Lord, baby.
baby.
I think according to Adam Sandler's Hanukkah song, that Sammy Davis Jr. was half Jew.
I think he converted to marry someone or something.
Sammy David Jr. He's half Jew. That counts or something.
Close
Something
enough.
like that.
So he's wearing her down.
Yeah, he's pinching her bottom. She has to eventually trick him into leaving the building where she's like, as she walks out, she's like, you're right, let's go for a walk. And he walks out too. Then she runs back in and like locks the door. And finally Dean Martin's like,
It's the only way to deal with these animals.
guess I'm not getting any strange tonight. and he leaves.
Guess I'll go across the street, see if there's any
is-
trim.
Any more of these models?
He's a playboy. Throughout this movie, girls will be kind of embarrassing him walking past him. And they're like, oh, he's trying to woo Abby. But then some hot model will come back and flirt
He
with him.
is, or was, sleeping with Anita Ekberg,
Okay.
the character in this movie. I don't know if he did in real life, probably.
But everybody was.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Everybody fucked her. Lumberg fucked her.
She was the town bicycle. Driving.
So we get Rick taking a bath, and this is a really funny scene, but
Yeah.
it went on a little bit too long, I thought.
Yeah.
He gets a call on the building's phone. There's one phone for the apartment building, and everybody shares
I
it.
love that.
Oh, yeah. There was
Landlady just comes out and screams like, phone call!
Yeah, they're like on the third floor or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, it's for Rick. Jerry's relaying the messaging. Oh, it's from the Murdoch Publishing Co. And he's like, well, what do they want?
What do they want? He's not getting out of the bath. He's not.
Jerry Lewis has to go back up and down the stairs. The whole bit is again and again, like, they want you to come in for an interview.
When? Where?
Yeah, back down the stairs, back up the stairs. This is the 50s. Everybody smoked. He's, like, nearly dead by the fourth time he has to go up these stairs.
By the time he gets all the facts, he's so out of breath, he's so gassed that he can't even speak. So then he starts pantomiming where, it's like, duck, quack, quack. What are you talking about? Duck. Sounds like duck, Murdoch. And,
It's an interesting coincidence between Bela Lugosi meets the Brooklyn Gorilla in this movie that they both have charades in them.
I think that must have been a pretty common vaudeville bit.
Yeah, charades is falling out of fashion.
I think it came up in one other movie that we covered, too.
I like charades.
We should do a
play enough
charades night. Yeah.
On the pod?
He's touching his bicep.
That's an audio bit. Yeah, so
Sounds like.
he goes and like runs to the fridge. This bit's going on for a long time too. You'd think he'd catch his breath by now, but he goes and like grabs a cantaloupe from the fridge and he puts it in a tea towel and it's hanging from his mouth and he's like, a stork. He wants to meet me at the stork club.
He just puts it together instantly.
And I mean, if there's a club called the Stork Club, you know right off the bat that that's what the guy means when he puts a napkin in his mouth.
Yeah.
I like clubs back then, but before it was like, I don't know, less pretentious. Now it's like divine. And
This seems like a golden era. I don't know. The only club I can ever think of when I think of this era, though, is like Copacabana. Like, wasn't that the big club at the time where, like, Sammy Davis would be playing?
where Lola lost her life.
Yeah.
So Rick goes to this meeting with Mr. Murdoch. Murdoch's looking for like some crazy stories. He's not really interested in Rick's art. Rick pitches Vincent the Vulture, which is the stories from Eugene's dreams that he yells out at night.
Yeah. He's stealing Eugene's dreams.
Yeah.
His dream ideas that Eugene's not even consciously aware of.
At this lunch meeting, Murdoch orders Rick's food for him. What do you think about that? You ever, would you ever presume to order lunch for somebody
That's
that you've never
man?
met? A man that you never met.
That is definitely like a power move. And if you believed in like some kind of dynamics like that, you'd be like, oh, this guy's trying to be the Frank Sinatra here. He's trying to make me submissive in
I
this.
might, at like a place, like an ethnic place that they haven't been to, be like, oh, you've never gone for Portuguese? I'd be
Yeah.
like, okay, this is the dish to try. He'll have this, I'll have that too. In those days, there was one kind of food, and it was steak.
Steak sandwich or a clubhouse sandwich?
What does he
What is
order
in
him?
the clubhouse?
Is it the clubhouse?
Take this new bread, baby. It's called a clubhouse. 3 levels.
They didn't even have whole wheat and white bread. It was just one kind of bread.
Just bread.
You will have it on bread. The Rat Pack guys seem pretty cool, though, overall.
They're the coolest people in the world at this point.
The king of cool.
I wouldn't want to be a woman anywhere in their orbit.
But you can smell them by looking like from a mile away.
But that was another quote somebody put. They weren't drunk on stage. It was just an act. And these guys never had to chase a woman in their life. Like Frank Sinatra became famous when he was like 19 or 20 or something. His entire life, he never had to pursue a woman.
I guess so.
That's why he's the alpha of the Rat Pack.
I like Dino. Frank has better songs.
Frank is
Dean's a great singer.
Yeah.
He's got really good. These guys all have amazing voices.
Sammy's the best dancer, for sure.
Yeah.
Probably the funniest.
And I might overall prefer Sammy's voice the most out of them, but I'm not sure.
Frank is, I think, the best singer.
And he's got the bluest eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, Blue Eyes.
Yeah.
There was something I really wanted to bring up about the Rat Pack. It'll come back to me.
Was it about Joey Bishop? No one ever talks about Joey Bishop.
Joey
Who the
Bishop.
fuck is Joey Bishop? Fuck him.
He was there.
The fuck did you do, Joey? He's the guy they sent out to do the wet work of the group.
Yeah. He's part of the shadow cabal of the Rat Pack.
Joey.
Every pussy posse
fuck
needs
did you
an
do?
Ethan Suplee.
Yeah. Somebody's like not afraid to just pull down the ski mask and just go to work with a bat or,
Cut up the bodies.
Yeah.
Roll up the sleeves and pull down the ski mask.
So this is where Dino sings My Lucky Song, and he's moving up in the world. He has this big musical number. It's out in the street. There's all these kids and everything. It's
Why, it's all a little bit something like, I'm so lucky, I'm the luckiest. I have no idea if that's what it's...
It's one of those
my
songs.
lucky song.
He's describing what today's my lucky day. I'm gonna march along the avenue and walk past the baker, and then I'm gonna tie my shoe. He's just like talking about his day and what's going on.
It's
He
pretty
wanders.
sweet.
He wanders like into a black bar, And this band of like black guys come out, and he's cool with them, and then
they're like accompanying him now, and he's doing some dances. He's doing tap dances. The black band's playing with him, like children.
His dance moves aren't that impressive.
No, he does
about
tap.
like Ryan Gosling in La La Land level, just good enough, but he's no Gene Kelly.
Yeah,
no,
it's his singing that's the his top talent.
When you're Rat Pack level, you're very concerned with cool, so you got to dance, but just enough. It has to be like kind of like a casual dance. Like
you got to make it look effortless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. There's this little blonde girl that comes and like scats along with him. He's like, shoo-be-doo-be-doo. She's like,
she was talented.
She was super fucking good.
Yeah.
And they do tap together.
She harmonizes with him and everything and dances.
Man. It kind of reminded me of this whole song and dance number of like a little bit of Singing in the Rain, just because it's on like a street.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Like, Dean Martin's like a wagon will be going by and he like kind of jumps on it and like slides this way, and he's just like using the props on the street.
There's just a lot of fun choreography going on, and a lot of talented performers all just there.
That movie is so much funnier and has such better fucking musical moments, and is just absolutely better than this movie.
But
I still wish we had more musicals.
Yes.
And good ones like this.
I was telling Vonn earlier, every fifth movie should be a musical like it was back then. It's just like, it makes sense, If we want to entertain a crowd, throw some comedy bits in there, throw some musical numbers in there.
Well, look how popular RRR was. Like, people were dancing and singing in the aisles of the theaters during
Hollywood's
that movie.
making more of them, but they're still like shy to identify movies as musicals. Like Wonka wasn't advertised as a musical, and it was a huge hit, but it was like secretly a fucking full-blown musical. And,
I did not
nobody
realize
knew
that.
until they saw the movie.
Dun, dun, dun.
I didn't know that until right now.
Makes me more interested to see the movie, and I think
Since they've kind of fallen out of vogue, like, people need to be reminded that they like them. You don't want to shock them. Douse them in cold water.
just let people enjoy a musical.
Man.
Gotta boil them like frogs.
If you don't like it, then you know what you're getting into if you show up. Abigail convinces Eugene to go on TV to speak against violent comics.
She kind of talks to Rick first. She's like, I think that I could help Eugene out. Or, I think I can help Eugene. Does he want to come to a meeting tonight about comic books? So she kind of tricks him into thinking that he's probably going to a group of people who are just going to talk about how much they love comic books.
This is like weird. This is like the communist meetings in the 1950s.
Totally. All of a sudden, this is just, it's something like out of a Good Night and Good Luck, where concerned committees are having discussions about things.
And then all of a sudden, they put a fucking TV camera on this guy, and he's live coast to coast, this fucking moron.
Well, the violent comics, they made me slow in school. So slow, I went to summer school in the winter time.
He's paraded out like a simpleton. And, like, they're not doing any flattering shots with him. And yes, you feel that you're not as smart since you've been reading comic books. You feel that it's impacted you mentally.
Don't, I'm a big dumb dummy.
They're asking him, like, what did comic books teach you to do? And he's like, well, they taught me to grow poison plants. They taught me to start fires. They taught me how to make a hangman's knot. They taught me how to prepare rat poison so it spreads like peanut butter. Like, it kind of sounds like he's reading out things from the anarchist cookbook rather than a comic book.
And this is what that Batgirl's all about. That's like, or Bat Lady. That's Bat Lady. Those are the only books he reads.
Yeah, Bat Lady's probably a poisoner. That's a woman's weapon. Poison.
They call her Bat Lady because she's always using bat poison on people.
Batman uses Batarang. Bat Lady uses poison.
That's what I love about Bat Lady. She doesn't fight. She doesn't use weapons. The only weapon is poison.
She's a poisoner.
She spreads it like peanut butter on their toast.
I thought it was pretty hilarious. I don't know, all the weird shit he was describing.
That's like the people nobody involved in this read a comic book. Or maybe that's just what comic books were like in the 50s. I actually don't know.
Or it was just a skewering of the whole moral panic, where they're like, of course, comic books don't teach you how to poison somebody, but these conservative figures are pushing that message. So let's do a little satiring of that right now.
Typical moral panic. There's a new one every fucking few years.
Yeah.
Eugene comes home and he's gonna write for Abby.
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of swapping around of places here because
they're kind of working together.
And like Eugene, he hates comics now. He's like, he doesn't want nothing to do with comics. He wants to pursue his children's book idea, and Abby's gonna to illustrate this children's book for him. But meanwhile, Dean Martin has made this deal with Murdoch where he needs to get Jerry Lewis's sleepy time ideas, because when Jerry Lewis dreams, he starts spouting off all these comics ideas. So Jerry Lewis is going to have to steal the comics ideas.
He's got to talk about the rockets and the XR 40s.
It's fair for him to do, if you ask me. Jerry Lewis is sleeping, and
He's got you got the secret formula X34 minus 5R1 plus 6X36.
which it becomes a big plot point later.
Wouldn't you know it? That just happens to be the secret formula to rocket ships to colonize the moon or something like that.
It's their super secret formula for a space base or like a space station, a permanent space station, which I couldn't quite wrap my head around. How, like, what do you mean a formula for a space station?
Don't try too hard there, Mitch. I don't think they could wrap their heads around it either.
It's all just excuses to get to the next comedy bit.
It's excuses to include an absurd plot point.
And you've got it now where it's all switched around, where Jerry Lewis is against comics. Dean Martin has gotten a bonus from Mr. Murdoch for making comics. Dean Martin has to hide that he's into comics. So he's like, it becomes a bit of a farce where he's like hiding paintings and has to hide his comic drawings under furniture and stuff like that. And Jerry Lewis is coming in like, wait, how'd you get the money to pay the rent? We was eating one bean a month ago. And he's like, well, I sold the painting, see? And
I would take a secret job. Like, we don't need to work at the same place.
but he is like,
We don't need to do everything together.
it is a weird closeness where he's always like,
Parasite.
man, like they wanted to break up at the beginning of the movie, and they keep talking about this kangaroo club thing. I don't know.
I know. They love the Kangaroo Club. That's like their childhood thing or something.
They both were in the kangaroo club, and that bonds them together tighter than brothers.
Is that like a paratrooper thing from the war?
I thought it might be a war thing, but I've never heard of this before. But
No, it means they all jacked off in front of each other.
This is how you join the kangaroo club.
you want to be a part of the kangaroo club.
Last one to come that doesn't join the club.
That's part of the secret handshake. a little mutual jerking off.
We love marsupials.
We love great apes like a gorilla, a Brooklyn gorilla.
So Bessie and Abby are just like going boy crazy, and they're talking about guys sunning out on the roof, and Bessie explains she's into numerology now, and like, what's next with this chick? Santeria? Oh, these chicks.
These tea leaves look like scrotum.
She just figures she's destined, ordained to be with Jerry Lewis, and Abby's kind of coming around too. She's like, well, what do you think of old Rick? Like, Dean Martin, isn't he? I know he's been harassing me for a month and stalking me.
He's a cute boy.
He's pretty cute.
He's
though.
putting in the work. Maybe I'll let him have a gander.
So this is when Rick comes along and he like serenades Abby.
This was a little uncomfortable too, because he pulls off like a pantomime where he like kind of like does like a shh to Shirley MacLaine, and then he sneaks up there.
Ushers her off and begins to
Yeah,
rub
she's like,
Abby's
I'll
back
put
with
lotion on you. Yeah, and then he's like, oh, no, I'm coming in to like feel your butt.
And then like this song,
Abby's like, your hands are kind of rough like a man. Then he kind of like loosens up and like he's just like, can't give the game away yet.
yeah. And then this song comes on the radio, and she's like, "Oh, I love this song." And then it's like the audio free or the voice free version or whatever.
It's like a karaoke version, and he's singing it. And how does she not realize that the singing is coming from the voice of a person right behind her and not from the radio right next to her? But
It's a little contrived, but
whatever. It's romantic. It looks beautiful.
yeah, and they're trying to show that there's some further wooing going on, and she's being seduced more by Dean Martin, even though to our modern sensibilities.
he's got a full bag of tricks.
yeah, exactly.
You know, what else is he gonna do?
He's smooth.
Yeah.
Like, I won't let you go. If you run to the ends of the earth, I'll follow.
I wish I had some of this song.
You're not safe for me anywhere, babe.
Can't you see you belong to me?
Get a children's choir sing it, redo the trailer for this movie.
And then Bessie, like, she's in heat for
Yeah.
Eugene.
Somebody needs to stick a Q-tip in her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Good Lord.
She
I could
sings.
do that with a cat in heat once.
I mean, you didn't have to do it.
I wanted to.
Bessie's loudly serenading Eugene, and he's like,
Oh boy, I'm dropping everything and I'm doing slapstick.
and she's like kind of dancing around the stairs. And
I love it when a man can't carry a pie without throwing it into somebody's eye.
So sexy.
Yeah, they have a totally wacky courting dance, and
I thought it was
it's a
really
good
well
scene.
choreographed.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys knew this, but Shirley MacLaine, when she was a child, her mother enrolled her in ballet lessons because her joints were so fragile and she was such a little weakling.
Aw. God, I know. Don't you just love her?
She does have a ballet experience.
5 years
She's
of
got
ballet,
moves.
3
She's
years
not
of tap.
she's not a fabulous singer. She kind of just belts it out and lets it fly, and it's really charming.
She's doing
good.
part 2 of
Yeah.
the song that Dean Martin was singing to Abby up on the roof. She kind of goes downstairs and she's singing it a little sadly because she's all alone. And Jerry Lewis comes in, and then like every time she hits a high note in the song, Jerry Lewis drops what he's carrying and falls down some stairs and does a pratfall.
So then we get Rick drawing Anita Ekberg, and she's like obviously insinuating. She's like, well, normally would you draw me? Like, don't you like fuck me or something? Should you be like literally fucking me right now, like one of your French girls?
You're actually drawing me today.
Yeah. Oh, and she's so sad. She's like, oh, Rick doesn't love me. Will I ever find a man? I'm the most beautiful woman in the world. Poor me.
The drawing he's doing, like when he was trying to steal ideas from Jerry Lewis earlier, like Jerry Lewis was describing the comic or whatever, and Jerry Lewis was describing a person with 3 eyes. One of them's purple, one of them's magenta, and one of them's violet on the back of the head. And so you see him when he's drawing here, he's drawing a woman with an eye on the back of the head.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
This is where the movie is really spinning its fucking wheels, if you ask me. There's just a
Russians-
lot of scenes that go nowhere. I feel like this movie could be 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe even shorter.
It
and
doesn't
it'd
need to be
fine.
almost 2 hours long.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Eugene's going and getting like a Swedish massage, and his legs are getting twisted around like crazy. We're getting some body horror.
I thought this was great.
David Cronenberg saw
I mean,
this
it's
movie.
funny, but
Yeah. It comes out, I mean,
it's
yeah.
a long bit.
And again, it's just, there's a lot of detours in the plot. There's a lot of like, here's a bit, here's a song, here's a bit. Does it have anything to do with each other? Not necessarily.
It wasn't quite as refined as Steve Carell getting his nipple hair ripped off.
And then Rick comes in. He's like, what are you doing here? And Eugene's like,
I'm getting a massage. Come on, join in, put on this table, and I'm going to put your legs this way.
and then he
Hey, can I get one more, you bloods? Come in.
and he's twisting them all up in knots like a big game of Twister.
Yeah, they're all
And I
like
was
human
like-
pretzels. Their limbs
Yeah.
are all intertwined. And he's like, well, actually, I need one more lady to pull my leg out from this way. And at the end of the bit, he ends up he's not in the huddle anymore. He's
He's walking away. There's just a pile of people. And I was like,
And I'm
special guest.
I'm pissing myself.
And I'm like, this sequence was special guest directed by Tom Sick.
Oh, I'm a human centipede now.
Yeah, there's just like a bit too much.
Why do I have to be the middle? Oh, no.
Oh, my voice is so loud and obnoxious you can still hear it through a rectum.
Gosh, your butthole is so big. Your butthole is so big. I didn't say it twice. That's the echo.
If you turn the Rat Pack into a human centipede, I think Frank Sinatra's the head of the human centipede, and then he shits into Dean Martin's mouth.
100%, because he's just got to make sure that Dean Martin knows where his place is.
Yeah. You'll never top me.
You gotta understand where your bread is buttered, Dino.
This whole Rat Pack thing falls apart. Yeah. Well, the Rat Pack did have a hierarchy. I was reading their Wikipedia article. I guess the original Rat Pack, it existed before Frank Sinatra and these guys. Humphrey Bogart was the head of the Rat Pack, and then after he passed away, he passed down like leadership of the Rat Pack to Frank Sinatra. And so and I think it was like
Give me a break.
it was like a card carrying thing.
House of
where-
Dragons, just this big.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You must stop fighting amongst. I just want you to get along so one of you can be the king of the Rat Pack.
Humphrey Bogart, who should inherit the Rat Pack? He passed it down to Frank Sinatra.
Only you can get lots of pussy and drink lots of scotch.
You're the king of the Rat Pack.
You're
now.
the king now, Frankie.
And I think they might have
you gotta-
actually even had cards printed out.
Yeah,
Like you had to be a card-carrying member of the Rat Pack.
you gotta be the first one to get tail, kid.
Already done, bogey.
Could you imagine like the Rat Pack doing Dean Martin Rat Pack? I'd be the middle in the human centipede, all on the business card.
It says right on it.
Frankie
1950s.
insists, so there's no confusion.
What's a human centipede?
If Dino were alive, he'd think that's funny.
He had a good sense of humor.
Oh, that's one thing I actually love about the Rat Pack is they're very roasty with one another. Like, they're always making fun of each other. Like, you watch them on The Tonight Show, if one of them does a joke that doesn't go over, they'll make fun of him for it. They'll be like, good one, Frank. You gonna try to be funny tonight or something? and Frank will laugh at it. And, like, they loved Don Rickles and Buddy Hackett. Like, all these roast comics who would just, like, they loved getting roasted by these guys. There's a great Rickles story I heard. So he was in Vegas trying to impress a girl, and he told Frank Sinatra, he's like, Frank, why don't you come by the table later tonight? You know, I'll be there with a girl, and you just say hello, and it'll be really impressive because you're the biggest star in the world. And then Frank's like, sure, that sounds good. And then, like, later that night, Frank swings by, and he's like, hey, Don, how you doing? And Don Rickles is like, Frank, I'm a little busy right now. Can you leave? And then Frank had two of his goons grab Don Rickles and throw him in a water fountain. So it all worked out good.
Like every guy, we all kind of deep down wish we had been there to hang with the Rat Pack.
Yeah.
And it's like such an embarrassing thing, but
Yeah, they were basically all man children, it sounds like. Like, everything they did today is like, oh, they drank all day and they pinched women on the bottom.
I'm sure they were menaces.
But
like,
they
there's
were-
that Onion article that I brought up earlier. It's one of my favorites. It's like a picture of George Clooney and he's sitting around a table. George Clooney has another rousing night of fun and conversation with the mummified remains of the Rat Pack. He's like smoking a cigar and there's like
Good one,
Martin's
Dino.
rotting corpse sitting next to him.
That's so true, Frank.
He just fucking wishes he was there.
Yeah.
I'll do all your movies again. I'll do 3 of them.
I don't know if there was an official dissolution of the Rat Pack. If, like,
So who's got the crown now?
maybe it's still going. Maybe there's secret card-carrying members of the
Did
Rat
Frank
Pack.
Sinatra? Yeah. Did Frank Sinatra pass the title down before he went?
Maybe George Clooney is in the Rat Pack and we don't even know.
That's
I don't know.
preposterous.
I think if I get enough points on my Taco Bell app, maybe they'll let me in.
You're the new head of the Rat Pack,
I can
kid.
trade in these points
I just
for a
need to
Rat
pu-
Pack
yeah.
membership.
I need to punch my 50th stamp on my cheap whiskey card.
You're the bottom of the human centipede, kid. Get in there.
Good enough for me.
Was that before or after the Taco Bell?
Please don't use any more of my Taco Bell points.
This guy ate a lot of gorditas. Once you're in the Rat Pack, every 3 months you have to go to Human Centipede night.
I'm not even sure if they get into it.
Have you even seen the Human Centipede movies?
I have. And yeah.
Not me.
I
I know
actually
what they're about. I'm good.
I think the villain in the first one is pretty compelling, actually. I enjoyed it.
So you do think he's a villain? He's not a hero to you?
It seems like a pretty unnecessary
An
surgical
anti-hero. He did what needed to be done, whether it's pretty or not.
That's what science is.
Yeah.
It's the only way to advance.
A 15-minute sidebar on Tom Six joke might throw away Tom Six joke.
The next thing I have is power rockets, and then the Russians come in at some point. I don't know if...
Yeah, we see a bunch of military guys launching a rocket to establish this space station, and they're like, this special formula is the exact same as what's in the Vincent the Vulture comics. And the Soviets are already hip to it, and the Secret Service are involved, and they're like, oh my God, we got to deal with this. And
Yeah.
this is where it gets really plotty and stupid. And so the Soviets have this secret weapon named Sonya, played by Eva Gabor.
Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Oh, fuck.
Eva.
Eva?
Yeah.
Not Zsa Zsa?
Eva's sister.
Oh.
Or
I thought-
Jaja's sister. It's
I
Eva
saw-
Gabor.
Oh,
Okay.
shit.
She's one of these dames who has legs up to her butt.
Yeah.
She's
What
like
is
a-
she? Like Bulgaria or Hungarian?
Yeah.
Hungarian, yeah.
Socialite
ambiguously
actress,
European,
very famous.
exotic.
So anyway, before long she shows up at Eugene's door, and
He's like, oh, wow, a sexy lady. So sophisticated.
I'll put you on the... I'll put you... You can wait on the couch. Rick will be back in a minute.
Blonde hair.
Rick's here. Don't worry.
and Murdoch is at the office, and he's showing Rick his death-dealing disintegrator atom gun.
Yeah, it's like it shoots purple smoke and stuff.
Yeah.
He's got a whole line of products that he wants to sell based on the Vincent the Vulture comic, and he's like, here's the atomizing gun, and it actually like destroys something. There's a bunch of
It's
other
like
products.
a tiny nuclear bomb that shoots out of it. It's like a little mushroom cloud comes out.
This is like the straw that broke the camel's back for Dean Martin. 'Cause for some reason.
I don't want my comic books killing people.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm done with this industry, I tell you. And he walks out on
It's like Oppenheimer. It's like,
He's just hearing the crowds cheering for his atom gun.
He's like, when Vincent...
Ricky,
people's faces are melting while they're clapping.
He's like, Vincent the Vulture used to be theoretical and I could handle it, but now that it's practical, I can't handle the consequences.
Remember when you came up to me when you first made your comic book and you were worried that we would create something that would destroy the world? Maybe we did.
Yeah, we see Secret Service spying on Rick and
This is a
Murdoch.
Rear Window bit, right?
Yeah,
This guy's totally doing a Jimmy Stewart impression.
Yeah, he's like, it looks like Todd told Murdoch off and left. But I can't see so well from this rear window.
Nice.
And it's just like a totally bad impression. Like,
But
So even back then, they were,
yeah, it's hilarious that reference still works 50 years later. And
yeah, that's
Yeah.
something.
You're like,
It's
I
something
get that.
straight out of a Zucker Brothers movie.
the
Like
metaphos was dripping open just a crack back then.
I feel like this movie could have used more of those Zucker Brothers kind of bits,
Yeah.
but that's like the only one in it. I was watching 30 Rock today, and they were doing like a stage production of Macbeth with Mayor McCheese, who's trying to make a fucking comeback.
Has McDonald's got rid of Ronald McDonald? Somebody was
Seems
saying
like
that.
it.
I haven't seen him in a long time.
People don't like clowns anymore. Back then, like there was a time when clowns were just all you had. It's just that was the entertainment, and you like it or not, that's what you had to watch.
Did you guys ever hear of The Day the Clown Cried? The Jerry Lewis movie?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's notorious. He was like a clown entertaining during the Holocaust in like a concentration camp, and it never saw the light of day. He buried it. There might be some weird copy of it in the Library of Congress. So if we go wherever they preserve the films.
Bar, I hear there's some people who want to cover Jerry Lewis. I think he's culturally the kids need to be talking about Jerry Lewis again.
Do a socially conscious movie.
Eva Gabor strips down to her underwear, and she's trying to seduce Rick when Abby shows up.
This is a real comedy of errors here.
Yeah, and it's kind of a classic sitcom bit. He has to hide her. He's like, oh, no, I'm trying to get laid with this hot babe, and now my girlfriend's coming over.
Geez, the other hot babe, the other bird came by the apartment.
Yeah.
And Eugene's trying to cover for him and pretending that Rick's having a shower or he's in the bathroom and he's calling in there. And
Abby shows up and she's been collaborating with Eugene over this children's book. So she's like, oh, I'm here to see Eugene. And Rick's like, oh, Eugene's in the shower and I'll just go in and get him. And then he's doing like voices like, how much longer are you going to be in the shower, Eugene?
And then Eugene shows up at home, and he's got his Freddy Fieldmouse mask on. This big, ridiculous costume. It looks like Dead Mouse 5.
fresh off of Coachella.
And she's like, well, you said he was in the shower, but he's there. You're clearly fucking a woman here.
Are you getting some strange?
No man would lie about showering unless he was fucking somebody else.
Yeah,
she
and
knows
Rick's like, why don't you entertain Miss Curtis? Okay. And he like just starts making out with her, and he's like, not like that, you idiot. And he's like, okay.
Show him some of your bird calls.
So like an Italian walks into a bar, and he's just like starts doing racial jokes.
It was acceptable in the mid-50s.
yeah.
Thank goodness nobody does Italian jokes anymore.
No, those aren't funny.
And then Tony Pizza walks in. He's like, hey, you guys doing artist models? Hey.
No, but then like they settle on like, just do some of your bird calls. So then Eva Gabor is stuck sitting on a couch about 6 inches away from Jerry Lewis while he's just doing. He's like, oh, you like my Hungarian titmouse?
Yeah.
Like whatever bird he's thinking of.
It's like a weird Abbott and Costello routine where he's like, I can do a Ukrainian pee-pee. And she's like, I only know kiwis. And he's like, well, I only know pee-pees. And I'm like, are these birds? Are they? This must have like blown the...
My kidneys just exploded. I was laughing so hard.
mid-50s. This blew the roof off the place.
I think it went over my head. I don't know.
I don't do birds. I don't know birds.
It was funny earlier between Abby and Jerry Lewis because they're collaborating on the children's book. The whole reason he had to go and get massage therapy was he's doing like weird poses for her. So she's like sketching him and he's like posing, and then you see what she's sketching, and she's sketching like the field mouse character from the book. And then can you do Goosey the Goose? And he's doing like weird positions.
I guess they're going to this event, this fancy dinner or something.
It's the big gala that all the big wheelers and dealers are coming to, and it's just the big night of fun and entertainment, and they're doing the entertaining.
Yeah, Eugene's dressing up in his tux, and he's like,
My dicky keeps shooting up and flapping in my
Flapping
face.
Dicky joke. I loved it.
Got a flapping dicky over here.
Oh, it's bodoing. Aye.
Dean Martin's like,
what the fuck is a dicky, and why do they flap up?
I think it's just like you wore a dicky
Yeah.
if you didn't have like the nice shirt to go with it. You just like wore it underneath instead of wearing a dress shirt or something like that.
Okay.
But,
Makes
like,
sense.
So like, why are they the entertainment? How did that happen?
It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't matter.
No, it really doesn't. Yeah, that's the thing about the plot of this movie. Nothing actually matters. It really is just an excuse to get to the next comedy bit or the next song and dance number.
But Bat Lady's going to be at the event, the Bat Lady herself.
Yeah.
And Eugene still has no idea that Bessie, his erstwhile girlfriend, is Bat Lady herself.
He's been lusting after Bat Lady this entire time.
So has she been enjoying kind of withholding this information from him? It seems like she could have told him at any time.
I don't think she knows that he's super horny for Bat Lady.
I guess.
She does, but her whole thing was like, I don't want to always be wearing a mask when I'm with my love interest. She's like, I want him to fall in love with me without the Bat Lady costume
If
on.
only he could appreciate that beautiful
Yeah.
face.
Yeah, if only you could appreciate that I'm one of the most beautiful women who ever lived, and I'm so talented, I can dance, and I'm so funny. He only has eyes
And
for
I'm
Bat
genuinely interested in him, Jerry Lewis,
Yeah.
for some reason.
Yeah. Inexplicable reason. Oh, yeah. But, I mean, it is one of those hilarious comedy tropes where, like, a beautiful woman is going after this schmucky loser, and he's so oblivious that through the whole movie, until the very end, he doesn't get it.
The
Pratfalls
Soviets
make me horny.
Yeah. I love the way you smashed those plates earlier when you fell down the stairs. I don't know why I did Shirley MacLaine with a Jerry Lewis voice, but
Everybody talks like Jerry Lewis now.
once he gets in your head, you can't get him out.
After you've been married, but as long as they've been married, you just talk like your partner.
What if James Earl Jones was in this? Might sound a little something like this.
Simba, you must take your place in the circle of life. Wyland.
So the Soviets capture Bessie. Sophia, that's Eva Gabor's character, the evil spy, she puts on the Bat Lady costume. And then, Lewis and Martin, they do a huge musical number on stage. There's like a color palette that they're dancing across, and it's things.
It's like an easel, like an artist's easel.
Yeah,
with
like
all,
kinda-
the different colors on it.
Yeah, and it kind of looks like sort of tissue paper or big ruffles or something like that. It's very elaborate stage setup.
Yeah, you just know, like you said, your wife noticed that there had to be women hiding under those.
Some of them are vaguely human shaped, and others are kind of little blobs.
Yeah, but man, they're really making the most of the color in this movie. Once again, it just looks fucking sweet.
Yeah,
This whole thing is an amazing song and dance number. This is like the centerpiece of the movie, really.
This whole like third act up to here, and like the whole middle sags in this movie, but then this finale is really good.
It's got the goods, you know.
This is what the movie's been built around.
And they do this great song where they're just talking about how they love certain colors, and every so often they go up to like a lilac, paint swatch, and be like, and if it's lilac, it's the best, blah blah blah. And then this beautiful woman would spring up from
And
the
if
paint.
it's pink, I think I love it.
or something.
Yeah.
It's all a metaphor for how horny they are for women. They're like, I love lime when it's got long legs. And the lime color will come out of the easel, and it's a beautiful woman.
In like a lime colored bikini.
Yeah.
and
And it's like, so the song something's like, to all the artists and models who brighten up the world today.
They make me horny.
They make me horny. The artists and models.
they make me wanna.
It's all very cute euphemisms throughout this movie, like for like getting a boner and stuff. Jerry Lewis will be like, "Oh, it makes my shoes pop off when I get kissed by this dame." Like,
But when somebody kisses somebody and their shoes toes literally curl up. That's funny. It's funny when they do it here. It's funny when they do it in like Lethal Weapon Naked Gun.
Funny in The Wizard of Oz when the witch gets crushed and her
Totally.
toes
Hilarious.
curl up. She must have been real horny.
I mean, the Wicked Witch of the West didn't find it all that funny.
No.
I'm due to watch Wizard of Oz again. It's been a couple years. So, yeah, they're painting women. They're doing slapstick. They're doing all the best stuff.
They're painting each
They're
other.
killing. Everybody loves it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing like tic-tac-toe painting on fucking Anita Ekberg's back.
Yeah.
Eventually, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis both have paintbrushes, and they're painting mustaches on each other, and then they flip the paintbrushes around, and they're having like a little sword fight. And
There's some like weird editing here where like they would show like Jerry Lewis like going in with a paintbrush and then would just like cut to like Dean Martin like kind of jerking back while like some other hand is like painting on his face or something. Like both of them just looked really uncomfortable when they were like being filmed.
that's not Jerry Lewis' hand.
Yeah, but they wind up with like Van Dyke beards and
Yeah.
It's a good musical sequence. It's funny. The song is catchy. They're good singers. They're adequate dancers. I mean, it's not up there with the best MGM stuff from the time, but it's...
it looks amazing. Like
cool.
it would be so cool to be in a live show in that audience watching this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The plot has not been building up to this. Like, this is just out of nowhere.
It's unearned.
Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis were newcomers to this industry a month ago, and now for some reason they're in charge of this whole show, the whole
that's what I'm saying.
production.
They're
of it.
moonlighting as song and dance man.
It doesn't make
and
sense,
It's
but-
like they. I don't know why. Maybe they find it debasing. It's like I'm not going to dance in front of them anymore. I just want to do my pictures. Like
I'm an artist. Yeah. It works for me anyway.
great. My toes tapping.
Eugene gets the mouse costume on, and that's when he bumps into Bat Lady, who is Sophia in disguise. And Rick finds Bessie, and she's all tied up to a chair
Oh god,
in her undies.
She got kidnapped and she got stripped of her Bat Lady costume, and so she's in her like stockings and she's like falling over in the chair. And next thing I know, I've got a bondage fetish. I don't know how to explain it, but
Yeah, take it easy there. bitch. Didn't know I was doing a podcast with the BTK.
I didn't either until this artists and models awoken something in me I can't control.
Yeah,
any
that
longer.
explains just like the mounds of rope that we have to wade through to get in here.
I'm the Frank Sinatra here. Y'all gonna be my submissives by the end of this show.
Such delicious sights to show you.
Put on the Bat Lady costume right now.
Okay, nice lady.
Yeah, so Rick and Bessie give chase. They're like, we got to stop them. They're like asking people, like, you see a bat and a rat come out here? Referring to Freddie Fieldmouse and Bat Lady, of course.
Hilarious. But yeah, so they've been kidnapped. She's been kidnapped by the Russians.
They're kidnapping Eugene.
Yes, they've kidnapped Eugene.
And it's funny, I don't think they ever actually identify these guys as Russians. I think the Secret Service guys in the military are just like, the enemy might be trying to get these secrets.
They have vaguely Russian accents.
They're clearly Russian. They're supposed to be like the KGB and Russian stand-ins, but I don't think they ever like straight up say like,
It's Cold War.
yeah,
Somewhere
you know what's going on.
Eastern European
You know the score.
of some kind.
They go to some mansion where he thinks he's going to get laid, and she's kissing him, and he's like,
Something's wrong when Bessie kisses me. The tops of my shoes pop open. Sorry, I don't like you.
and she like poisoned him with a cocktail and then hits him as he's leaving, and he does some like acrobatic flailing around and his dicky flaps up in his face.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, she poisons him with a celery tonic on the rocks, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know. I live in a time where I have better access to booze and
We have,
citrus.
we have better things to juice than celery.
Her whole thing is she wants to make him go to sleep because when he goes to sleep, he reveals the secrets to the super secret formula for the space station. So he's realized that he's actually in love with Shirley MacLaine, Bessie, but she still poisons him. He falls asleep to get the secret code.
Yeah. Rick and Bessie, they climb up a tree and they see him like in bed or whatever, and everybody listening, and they jump in and save him.
Yeah.
And there's some like daring do and whatnot. Then they send in the henchmen. They send in the henchmen. They come in, and there's a good little bit here where Rick and Eugene hide under a sheet with their legs kind of dangling out. And then they rip the sheet off, and the henchmen look at them for like a good 5 seconds, and then I think Rick and Eugene beat them with their shoes. They
knock them
just bludgeon them unconscious with
Yeah, I guess that must be what it be. That's got to be what it be, man.
It's gotta be what it is.
What really made me laugh at this part is there's like the big staircase in this mansion,
Yeah.
and they've got those suits of armor.
Endless
There's
suits of armor.
so
that
many
was
suits
great.
of armor, and it's so funny watching those suits of armor, and they know it's funny because they keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but they push the suits of armor down the stairs, and the suits of armor kind of clumsily walk.
Yeah, there's
almost.
like somebody in there going like, bah, bah, bah,
As
bah,
they
bah, 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 like walking down the stairs, and then
they
they
just,
cut to
like-
like somebody throwing a suit of armor at like
Yeah.
some henchman.
and then the armor just kind of breaks into a million pieces and
Yeah.
collapses.
And this happens again and again and again, and they're like throwing them off the banister and just like dropping them on people. It's
Yeah, there's
It's
like
great.
7 suits of armor that they send down the stairs at these thugs as they're trying to get up. And
Suits of armor are always funny. Like,
suits of armor are taken too seriously in most movies these days. They're usually only around when they're showing that somebody is super rich or kind of like evil, and they have like a collection of like,
Yeah.
this is my this is my like English knight suit of armor, and this is my shogun's, my samurai armor.
they can
Like,
be funny.
they're
They
not
can
used
be
funnily-
funny.
They don't use them for
They're
funness
kind of
anymore.
funny in Last Duel. Another movie that really uses suits of armor to hilarious effect is Mel Brooks's silent movie. There's a sequence where they're trying to get Liza Minnelli's attention to be in their silent movie, and it's Mel Brooks and I want to say Dom DeLuise, or is it? But anyway, they're in these suits of armor and they're clumsily flailing around this cafeteria trying to be cool.
Just like watching,
And it's like a 10-minute sequence, and there's no sound. It's a silent movie,
Yeah.
right?
watching
It's one of the funny. It's one of the hardest I've ever laughed at a movie. Period.
suits of armor. They're big and they're clunky, and watching them like go around in modern times, it's
a good bit.
it gets me every time.
It's a good bit.
this whole scene is hilarious. I really appreciated Shirley MacLaine's comedy chops in this scene, too.
She's got a couple good lines here.
Yeah, like they throw open a door at one point and the bad guys are on the other side, and then they like slam the door in their face.
Yeah.
and-
She's like, we don't want any, or
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, like they're solicitors. It's great. Yeah, it's very good slapstick. It's the comedic back and forth, and
Yeah.
they're going after these guys. They're good.
But soon they're
Slapstick
overwhelmed.
always works.
Yeah. Shirley MacLaine gives Eugene a big smooch and his toes pop up, and then he goes like 100% Popeye,
Yeah.
where he just starts like one-hitting everybody who comes anywhere near him. He's like punching people who are coming through the doors and
He's got
Yeah.
the power of love.
or through windows.
This is pretty funny. Pretty impressive dexterity. Pretty impressive moves from Jerry Lewis.
Yeah.
As he's just like prancing around like Muhammad Ali, just knocking everybody out.
He's boxing like a kangaroo.
Yeah. Kangaroo Club, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Kangaroo Pack. That's what it was. The Kangaroo Pack.
Nice.
Yeah, him and Dean Martin.
Oh, sorry. Kangaroo Patrol.
Is it Kangaroo Patrol?
Kangaroo Patrol. Let's get that right for the record.
They
For
do their
all of the Martin and Lewis fans that are listening, that would be outraged. if
You
we
asked
got
for
a
it.
Detail
You
wrong.
got it. We don't want to, misrepresent any of what we're seeing here.
the Kangaroo Club are the people who go on Kangaroo Patrol. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, they do like a secret handshake from this group at one point, and they're like,
They're hopping around like Kangaroo Patrol. Kangaroo.
yeah, makes you feel like they have a real sense of camaraderie.
They're old friends, and you understand why Dean Martin puts up with all his shit.
You don't understand what Kangaroo Patrol is, but you understand why they're friends.
Yes, you understand.
Kangaroos are one of the most loyal animals. Everyone knows. If you're from Australia, you know that.
They'll put you right in their pouch,
Yeah,
and you're
Yeah.
theirs for life. You're bonded.
yeah. That's like their
they don't.
uterus. Their private parts are in there, I think.
Our Australian listeners don't want anyone else to know that, but we know that.
Yeah. That's why
You're
Jerry
all
Lewis.
you're all in a kangaroo's pouch down there.
That's why Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis never caught on there. They couldn't understand Kangaroo Patrol.
They couldn't sanction people not taking kangaroos seriously. They have a very different Kangaroo Patrol there.
Kangaroos can get out of control there.
So yeah, we get that long scene of the cops coming in to like break it all up, and Jerry's prancing around. He knocks out a few cops. That's great. And then, yeah, we get a reprise of their pretend song.
They
and,
show up a half an hour later like nothing happened, and everybody's just loving it.
Yeah, the audience is still there for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, what is this, a fucking Guns N' Roses
Just
concert?
Murdoch's in the audience, just like looking around, like, where are they going to be? Like, I got to go to the bathroom, but the music's still playing.
Will there
And
be
they're
a
like-
reprise?
Life is filled with happy endings when you pretend. And they're getting married on stage.
Yeah.
I love those happy endings when they have all the group weddings. Everybody's
Yeah.
getting married at the same time.
Jerry Lewis is like looking at Abby and Dean Martin. he's like, she's his, and Shirley MacLaine's like, you're mine, and then they smooch, and the end. Pretty
the
much.
end. Good, you know,
Right then.
Solid ending.
Yeah.
That last 10, 15 minutes or whatever was just like
Yeah.
great. From the song and
yeah.
dance number to the action sequence, which
I
was fun
think
to
it was
watch.
a solid movie that you could have cut half an hour out of.
Yeah, yeah, it didn't. There was a lot of kind of chunks that didn't work. Yeah.
I do think I loved this movie. I think I really loved it when I was watching it. I don't think it's quite a 5-star, but it's probably a 4.5 out of 5 star for me. Yeah.
Whoa. I'm like a 2.5 probably or something.
I was
like
really
that.
blown away
3.
by
Yeah.
it. I don't know. I was like into the song and dance numbers. I was like, oh, I love this beautiful Vertigo vision. Or
You are a lunatic.
If you like this, I hope you check out some more musicals. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've seen Singing in the Rain, but
I haven't, other than the clips of like, you know, the classic Singing in the Rain.
you
song.
should watch Singing in the Rain.
I've never watched the whole thing through.
It's very funny. It's a much more interesting satire of show business of the time.
I think there's lots of examples of movies that have better songs and dances, and also kind of
Yeah.
like
Better jokes.
better songs, better narratives running through them.
Well, the whole thing at this point in Martin and Lewis's
Shirley MacLaine's
career
great, though.
is that they were getting very sick. Dean Martin was getting very tired of the scripts they were getting as like a Martin and Lewis duo, and he thought they were very samey, and he wanted something a little more original, and that was causing tension between him and Jerry Lewis. And at a certain point, what broke them up was that Dean Martin made a comment like, "You're just a paycheck to me," to Jerry Lewis, and that was like the last thing they said to each other for 10 years or something.
Was it Martin that said that? I think it was Lewis that was like,
You have no fucking talent. I'm the whole fucking group.
Well,
You're
yeah.
nobody. He's like, everybody fucking loves me. You're fucking bum. Like,
Yeah.
that was
He's
what
a
I saw on the
monster.
Wikipedia. Like Lewis really thinks like Martin is shit.
Well, Martin, for the last few movies, he had been phoning it in because he was so sick of these scripts that he just wasn't really giving it his all anymore. And Jerry
they are
Lewis,
shitty scripts.
Yeah.
Jerry Lewis was taking him to task for it, and he was like, "Well, fuck you, let's break up."
Well, fair enough. And I mean, it isn't that great of a script. And Jerry
Yeah.
had to go off and do his own thing. And he met some success in France. And some cinephiles appreciate his films to this day.
Oh, well, they both had huge success after this. They were both massive stars continuing
So
forward.
like, Jerry Lewis, I think, has had a much stronger influence on culture than Dean Martin.
I don't know.
I
we
wonder-
still hear Dean Martin songs.
I hear Dean Martin songs, but I don't see people kind of still doing Dean Martin bits. Whereas like,
but nobody likes Jerry Lewis.
well, that's fine, but like I think he was. I don't like him either, but like people were informed by his performances and the way he did things, and we still see that. Like
His characters and stuff there, I guess his characters stick around, but you know, and people always remember his what's his charity telethons.
Oh, yeah, with the cerebral palsy telethon.
Or it wasn't palsy, it was the fuck was it?
Jerry's kids.
yeah, Jerry's kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess what I mean is like I
Jerry's
still see more
Yeah.
influence.
Oh, we love Jerry's kids. It's me. I'm Jerry. I'm fixing all the kids.
Everyone loves my kids.
pick up the phone.
You're gonna be okay. Pick up the fucking phone.
I guess what I mean is I still see more people being
Yeah.
influenced or by Jerry Lewis's style more than Dean Martin.
Like you were saying, you look at like a Jim Carrey, you can definitely see the influence into him. You can any kind of pratfall, a broad physical comic.
He didn't invent fucking pratfall.
No, he
he
didn't.
had the crazy face.
He
had a
wasn't even
crazy
great
face.
at doing
He-
it. I
he
mean,
might-
Chaplin and
Oh,
fucking
yeah,
Keaton
Chaplin.
did
Chaplin's the ultimate.
did that shit
He had,
100
he had an
times better.
elastic
Yeah.
face and all the funny face bits that pretty well funny all throughout.
Yeah.
Like,
But like Dean Martin stayed relevant. He had lots of TV shows. He famously had like the Dean Martin comedy roasts from the Friars
Sure.
Club for a long time. They were like under his imprint. So comedy roasts are still a huge thing to this day, and you can kind of trace those to the TV comedy roast, the Dean Martin stuff. These guys were all huge presences on like the Tonight Show, which was like, you know, the cultural hub for America for like 30 years, basically.
Oh, at least.
Yeah. So, and they were go-to guys, both of them, really, for decades.
Titans of the industry.
Yeah. And they're, whatever. Fuck them. They're dead.
Yeah, and now they're gone.
Gen Z, Gen Alpha,
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't give a fuck about them. Shall we take a break?
Yeah, we'll be back after the break with Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn vampire. Gorilla.
That ought to draw in Gen Z.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
I love Vegas on Saturday night. I love Vegas when the High and Low podcast audience is back. Well, just in time for us to talk about Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla.
You hep cats. You know what we're talking about.
If you liked Martin and Lewis, oh boy, you're going to love Duke Mitchell and Sammy Petrillo.
Yeah, they don't really shorten their names to like their last names, do they? Are they a Mitchell and Petrillo, or
I don't think so.
it really feels like every time they address each other in this movie, it's just like, "Oh, hi, Duke Mitchell. How are you doing?
Yeah.
I'm doing good, Sammy Petrillo. How are you doing?"
Yeah, he always calls Duke Mitchell Dookie.
Oh,
He's
right.
like,
That's
Dookie.
poop. That means poop.
Where you at, Dookie?
I got a dookie.
I made a Dookie in my
What are you
shorts.
dookie on this island?
Why did you dookie in my pants?
Oh, some asshole dookied in my pants.
Hey, Bela Lugosi, can I borrow some of your vodka to clean up this mess?
You just know Bela Lugosi dookied his pants multiple times throughout the filming. He was in the depths of his heroin.
I was going to say, yeah, like he was not in a good place when he made this movie.
No.
Oh, man.
I think this was pre-Ed Wood.
I'll do what I have to do so my dealer doesn't break my thumbs.
Yeah, he was not in a good place. He never quite reached the heights of success that Boris Karloff did. And he was always a little jealous of Boris Karloff. They were up for the same roles, but Bela Lugosi had his weird Hungarian accent, so he was always like the weird foreigner in movies and stuff like that. He played the hero a couple times, but
Just wasn't very charismatic.
No,
compared to Karloff. I mean,
he plays a good vampire.
he has an interesting screen presence.
yeah.
I didn't realize until watching this, he is like pretty tall too. He's imposing on people, and I've seen him in some, Dracula and some other stuff. I've never really realized that before.
He's good for like a mad scientist or a vampire or some like weird European who's threatening an American or something. But
Yeah, or pick one or like mix and match, whichever ones you want. Put them all together. He's a European mad scientist vampire thing. That's what he is in this one.
Yeah, pretty much.
he had to flee Hungary at some point. Like abandon his first wife, and that he came to America. But there was some political reason why Bela Lugosi had to flee Europe and like come to America and become a star there.
Well, they were lucky to have him.
The world is richer for all the great exploitation movies that came out starring
Yeah.
Bela Lugosi, where they even put his name, the actor's name, in the title, which is off the top. That's really bizarre to call the movie Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla.
That is 100% to draw people asses into seats. They're like, "Oh, put Bela Lugosi's name on Duke Mitchell. No one knows this guy." Sammy
I was
Petrillo.
intrigued when I found out we were doing this.
Yeah.
Like I would watch that.
This movie's from 1952.
Yeah,
This is
so-
a few years
yeah.
before
Martin and Lewis
Artists
ripped
and
off
Models.
them, I think.
Well, like Artists and Models is late stage Martin and Lewis. They broke up a year later. This is like they're
Only stage, Petrillo and Mitchell.
Yeah.
Early stage, mid stage, end stage. It's all of them
Yeah.
all rolled into one.
I think they had a stage act together for a while, but this is their only movie they ever did together.
Yeah,
They
this
came together on a Saturday night.
This is the most bizarre
In
movie.
Vegas, baby.
Do
those dice. Oh, yeah. 5 stars.
Why don't you blow on this sugar? Yeah. Oh, no snake eyes.
You guys ever see that Tim Robinson skit where he's playing like this slick Rat Pack guy and he's like, "Oh, hey, baby," and he like shows up in the casino like he's the biggest shit in the world. And then he just like, "Hey, put it all on black, baby. Oh yeah, sweetheart, blow on these," and he loses it, and he's like, "Oh no!" And then he's like trying to suck guys' dicks in the bathroom for like quarters. Just immediately, just the most desperate person. One of my
Yeah.
favorite fucking skits ever. That's basically Sammy Petrillo
Yeah.
and Duke Mitchell. So this movie has an opening narration, and as is tradition,
It's like people have never seen a jungle before. It really just tells you or heard about a jungle.
I don't know. I guess it's probably a running joke in this movie that they're on an island in the South Pacific, which is where it's set. It just kind of is all things that you could imagine in an exotic location. It's like the African savannah, and it's also like the jungles of Asia.
This movie's like generally offensive. It's not like aiming at any particular group, but it's just kind of like smearing a whole bunch of stuff together.
It's very hard to determine where it takes place. I know it takes place on the island of Cola.
But they have giraffes there, and
There's giraffes, there's gorillas. Like, initially you're thinking this is Hawaii because there's luau's and, like, grass skirts and stuff.
everybody's wearing like cheetah.
Like a Fred
loincloths
Flintstone
and stuff like that.
Yeah. And again, the wildlife doesn't match up, so it's like, this is some ambiguously tropical place.
Between New York and Guam. So like somewhere around there is where they've landed.
Yeah, Duke Mitchell and Sammy Petrillo were going to head to Guam to entertain the troops there or something.
Those troops dodged a bullet.
Should we do the opening narration?
Yes.
Should we do the bit? It's all there on the Wikipedia. And I'll say that the Wikipedia plot summary for this is the most detailed I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I've
For
read...
any movie. Like, Star Wars is not this detailed.
Yeah,
No.
I've read Twilight Breaking Dawn Part 2's Wikipedia article, and it has nothing on this one.
Yeah, this one, somebody is a fan, and they really went to town on this.
So it was Mitchell.
You'll see this. Like, every once in a while, you come across a Wikipedia article where it's clear that some psychotic person has fixated on the film, and they just, like...
And nobody cares enough about it
Yeah,
to
exactly.
rein them in at all.
Like, no Wikipedia editor is like, wait, this is a hot topic. I got to correct all these things. But
Well, it's all correct.
it is. Yeah, it is. There's loving
There's just
attention
so
to
much of
detail.
it.
This is the jungle. The vast wilderness of the giant lush foliage. The killer tiger. The cunning hyena. The deadly python that can crush a giant elk. And the buzzards. Soaring lower. Ever lower. Eager to devour the dead or the dying. Kill or be killed. This is the law of the jungle. What do we have here? Who are these men? What can they possibly be doing in this cruel tropical wilderness?
Sammy Petrillo and Duke Mitchell in full, like, nightclub act suits just lying in the middle of the jungle. My thought is, like...
They have beards.
They have full on... Yeah.
They have coma beards, yeah.
Yeah, like Steven Seagal in whatever that movie is.
Not above the law.
They're like
Hard to kill.
Hard to kill, yeah.
Rip Van Winkle, they like fell asleep in the jungle, and 20 years later they woke up with like 6-foot beards.
Yeah, pretty much. Like,
It doesn't make sense.
It's like Robin Williams in Jumanji. Like,
It's a comedy, so I guess it gets a pass that there's all this megafauna on this tiny island in the South Pacific.
The director of this movie had a bunch of stock footage. He's like, I've got a tiger, I've got a python. I was like, why don't I make a movie in the jungle? Like, I've already got the stock footage. Let me build a movie around it. Because, I don't know, that's the feel of the beginning of this movie to me.
this guy loves jungles.
Ramona the chimp is a notable credit on this.
Oh, yeah.
The standout of the movie, I think.
Yeah. Is
that-
Great chimp acting.
That's the actress's name, right? Ramona? If I'm correct, like, that's the actual chimp's name.
Yes.
As well as the character in the movie. So
Actress.
she got to play herself.
I just hope that she got her own trailer.
She's the Meryl Streep of chimps.
Yeah. She's the Ava Gabor of the piece.
She's the honeypot of the island.
Yeah, she's always going after Sammy Petrillo. The way that Shirley MacLaine and Jerry Lewis had a romance going on, Ramona the chimp and Sammy Petrillo kind of have a little thing going on.
Well, so like half of this movie, like Sammy Petrillo's whole arc in this movie is just rebuffing advances from people and things that want to fuck him that he doesn't want to fuck.
Yeah, until the end. Yeah.
Like he can afford to be choosy.
God.
Yeah, well, I know. We have to suspend our disbelief a little bit.
He's kind of the Abby of this movie, and like Dean Martin's pursuing him for like 2 hours, following him across the world until he agrees to give her a smooch. She doesn't like this girl that's coming after him.
Oh my
but
god. Okay,
Take
so
her.
But I'm not a chubby chaser. They gotta be under 100 pounds or I'm not into them. Thank you.
her name is like Salome or something, and throughout the movie, he just
Saloma.
keeps Saloma, and he keeps calling her 2-ton salami.
Yeah,
throughout the movie.
Oh,
That's his
2-ton
nickname.
salami's coming. Yeah.
It's not funny.
In pretty short order, they get discovered by some of the locals and they get brought back to their village. They've got like a little copy of Variety in their jacket and they get sit down in front of like the town council pretty much. You have the chief, you have this guy who always has a bird on his head.
Yeah.
He's the witch doctor.
Yeah.
He's the witch doctor and he can't walk through a door.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's very ambiguous. The way they're dressed, it's like, oh, these guys are tribal, like generic tribal, no name brand tribal.
Exactly.
folks.
It's just like it's not taking shots at any one thing. It's just like, I don't know, vaguely taking bits and pieces from
Yeah. Sammy Petrillo and Duke Mitchell, these are Italian Americans, salt of the earth.
Yeah,
and, and their accents don't tell you otherwise. That's their accents, and they're in this movie.
Duke Mitchell's birth name, Dominic Salvatore Michelli, and he took on the stage performing name Duke Mitchell to further his career, and that's why he became such a massive star that everyone knows to this day.
I may as well give a little bit of backstory on Sammy Petrillo, who became famous as a very young man for resembling Jerry Lewis.
Yeah, so he
But
got
also-
a funny haircut one day.
Yeah.
People were like, you look like Jerry Lewis, and he made a bit of a career out of it.
And he's like, oh, God, I can do
Ivan.
Jerry.
His first role was playing a younger version of Jerry Lewis in one of the Martin and Lewis comedy sketches, and it just kind of got out of control from there. Like, Jerry Lewis didn't know what he was setting in motion, that he was, like, creating a comedy performer.
I've got to kill what I've made
You're
before
just
it
like
kills
me, Ivan.
But like his dad was a comedian in the Catskills area, that's where a bunch of people would just tour around with these vaudevillian type bits.
A
And,
lot of-
even as a kid, he did like this Catskills comedy.
Yeah.
So like he didn't just come from fucking nowhere to like rip off Jerry Lewis. He was a performer in his own right.
All these comedy duos and like a lot of the early film comedy kind of evolved out of the Catskills tradition.
Which is a
folk.
place that's totally alien to me. I don't know what the fuck anything about that is, but
But from a young age, Sammy Petrillo is doing the Jerry Lewis impression. Like, I think he's got to be early 20s in this movie.
He's
something like that.
he looks very young. He looks a lot more like Jim Carrey. He looks like a cross between Jim Carrey and Jerry Lewis.
He
to
looks
me.
like Lloyd Christmas in Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah,
You know,
totally,
that's the
totally.
haircut. That's kind of
Yeah.
like...
But he
Yeah.
talks like Jerry Lewis.
I'm doing it.
Go-
Who put this fucking dickie here? Was it an Irishman? Oh, I hate the Irish.
You flatten that dickie down, mister. Put that rub that dickie down.
We had a rule. Dickie's down when we were doing the podcast.
So anyway, the natives, they changed these guys into clean pants. They give them a shave and some Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah.
And we get a first good look at Mitchell and Petrillo, and they sit up and they look like if you ordered Martin and Lewis from Wish. It's a real we have Martin and Lewis at home situation.
It doesn't quite look like the picture on the website, but I guess
Yeah.
It's generic brand.
it still grates my nerves, so I guess it's fine.
Yeah, Mitchell looks less like Dean Martin, maybe a little bit more like a young Danny Aiello, a standard East Coast Italian-American guy.
One of the quotes I read about Duke Mitchell was that he doesn't really look like Dean Martin until he's standing next to Sammy Petrillo, and then you can kind of see it.
Yeah, he's not ugly, but he doesn't have
No.
Martin's soft features.
And like, he's not a horrible performer either, but he doesn't hold a single candle to the Rat Pack. Like, his voice is just, he's the shittiest Dean Martin song is probably better than any of the songs in this
I don't know.
movie.
He's doing some standards. I think he sounds about on par with Tom Jones. He doesn't have like Dean Martin's beautiful voice, but he has a powerful croony kind of style. I say he sounds more like Tom Jones than Dean Martin.
I don't know. Sure, I don't think he sounds like Tom Jones, though. I think he just sounds like a bit of a crooner.
He's a crooner and he's serviceable, but he's not like, he was never going to be a like Rat Pack. It's
People would
crazy, but
resent him if he did karaoke, but he's not going to pack any auditorium anywhere.
he would always do Dean Martin songs in karaoke. Like, that's amore. Not quite pulling it off.
Be the big man at the local dive bar.
Yeah.
Sure.
He was the hottest shit. And
Well,
He's
Mitchell
pulling a night's pub.
Mitchell went and performed his whole life, and he did make
yeah.
a fucking career out of it. So he's not a total bum.
yeah,
He called himself the King of Palm Springs because he would perform at all these clubs in Palm Springs to, I assume,
The title was just laying there. Somebody had to go
blue-haired-
and pick it up and take it. You know?
I know it rhymes. Blue-haired retirees who can't tell you any different.
And high and low death segment. He died pretty young. He died at like 55 years old. A pretty young man, but he did do like a couple movies later in the 70s that were independently produced, Massacre Mafia style and Gone with the Pope. They were on the Arrow streaming service recently. Like, I don't think
Coming attractions, I'm sure.
they're good. Like, they're really real weird. They're not like this movie. They're very strangely personal. He wrote them. I'm not sure if he directed them, but he was like, they were his indie
Is it
projects.
like Jean-Claude Van Damme doing like JCVD later, just like let's peel back the curtain?
That, with Massacre Mafia style, it came out after The Godfather, and a lot of it is like a critique of The Godfather.
So yeah, they get gussied up and they introduce themselves the way they do. Duke Mitchell's like, we'll do a little song. Hey, hit those bongos. And they show some guy just like hitting a couple bongs, like, you play. And then all of a sudden you have the swinging horn section coming in out of nowhere, and
He sings them a croony song. Like,
Yeah, the tribe do a dance. They call it a luau.
Sammy Petrillo kind of embarrasses himself at first because like someone's trying to smooch him or something, and he's like, I gotta go dance right now, and he goes and dances with the tribe, and then the chief is like, that was very impressive. Duke Mitchell, can you do a dance? And Duke Mitchell's like, well, I don't dance, but I can croon.
I can croon you 8 or 10 tunes for you.
I don't tap my toes, but I snap my fingers.
Gets up there, does his nightclub act for them.
Deed I Do is the song he does. Made most famous by Ella Fitzgerald and Count Basie.
That's like his go-to song in this movie. He kind of bookends it, like he's singing it throughout.
It's his
this
trademark song.
And diddly diddly do.
Do I?
Do what do we do?
And everybody's digging it. And
They've never seen anything like this in the tribe. They're like, wow, what are you guys from New York or something? You guys from Brooklyn?
And the chief's daughter,
She's the
Nona.
princess of the tribe. One day she will become queen of the tribe.
She's the Moana of the tribe, but she's been schooled in America,
She's
so she
wise
speaks
to the
English.
worldly ways, so she can bring back some knowledge to the
She
tribe.
surprises Duke Mitchell here and there, where she'll like sing a little bit of Italian crooner song.
Yeah,
He's like,
and
how
she-
you know that?
And she understands references like the subway or the pizzeria or whatever.
Jersey? You know about gabagool?
I went to college there. Like at one point, he's like, "You sound like you college educated or something," and she's like, "Well, that's because I went to college."
She's like the only person out of the locals, out of the native tribe, who speaks like proper English, and everybody else is really kind of doing that baby talk that we've seen in a few other movies.
Yeah.
Like Coe and Rambo 2. Like you sing really good. No, yes, and
yeah.
And she's definitely white.
Oh, 100%.
Pretty much everybody is, except for a couple of the native people. They may or may not be.
It's pretty short order that Duke Mitchell's kind of wooing Nona a little bit, and Sammy Petrillo, he's talking to Nona and finds out that she has a sister.
Oh yeah,
her little sister.
Yeah, her little sister.
See if she has a sister for me, because you're macking out on the princess. I need a little woman too.
Yeah. Plus size baby sister. She's all over him, and he escapes her, and that's when he goes to dance, and then he's doing his own shtick, and he's going,
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is my first time on Coca-Cola Island, and let me tell you, it makes me feel like I'm full of Pepsi.
and stuff like that. He's doing his cat skills.
Oh, I
shtick.
bet a sailor said I haven't had a bite in 3 days, so I bit him. Have you ever been up in front of Judge Monroe? No, why? Does he get up early?
All those hacky old jokes.
Yeah.
The tribe's like, why is this man making
One of them
annoying
catches
noises?
on though, like
Somebody kill him, please.
Yeah. Can we roast him over a fire like one of those pigs on a spit?
well, one is like biting sailor joke comes up. Like one person starts laughing, and another the tribe chief is like, "Well, what do you say?" And like they kind of explain it to him in like the local language, and everybody just busts their guts laughing. They love this guy all of a sudden.
Again, he's from New York, man, the cultural hub of the world. They never heard comedy like this
They
before.
never heard a joke.
Life is serious in the jungle. They don't have time for that.
But they fucking love eating sailors. They think it's the funniest thing in the world.
Like, didn't you guys think they were going to try to eat Duke Mitchell and Sammy Petrillo? That never comes up, though. But I thought that was going to be a big thing.
I guess
I
not.
wish they would have.
Yeah, that would have been.
Well, they were going to kill them immediately, but Nona was like, "Don't do that."
Instead of killing them, shave their beards.
Yeah.
Oh, look, they look normal under those beards.
So Nona's taken a liking to Duke. Duke explains they fell out of their plane going to Guam to perform for the troops, and
It's a weird scenario.
She went to American college, which must have turned her white.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It sounds as though Sammy Petrillo and Duke Mitchell just like accidentally stepped out of their plane, and then Sammy Petrillo was like, "Luckily, we were wearing our parachutes."
Luckily, you were over an island in
Yeah,
South Pacific.
It all worked out okay.
A lot of water. But
Pretty fucking unlikely, if you ask me, as I push up my glasses.
I would not go within 10,000 yards of a plane if I knew Sammy Petrillo was around.
Yeah, you're asking
You don't want
for
any
it
part of that.
at that point. You deserve what happens to you if you're on a plane with
Yeah,
that guy.
shame on Duke Mitchell for not knowing better, because this
Yeah.
guy's a grade A buffoon.
Yeah,
It should be noted that Sammy Petrillo, in his long life, I'm just going to pepper the story with facts about him. He shot a pilot or two with Lawrence Tierney, notorious drunk and madman from Reservoir Dogs and other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a pretty. He had
also
like a really interesting
mentored
career.
Richard Pryor and Dennis Miller and other comics.
He was a fixture in like this, if not in the movies, if in like comedy stage shows.
I mean, if you dealt with Lawrence Tierney on a personal level like that multiple times, probably a little bit of fucking gumption in your stuff, man.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
just got a 1,000-yard stare after.
Yeah. You're better off dealing with a Brooklyn gorilla than you are with Lawrence Tierney.
Yeah,
That guy's like
he's
a,
the
a
original
menace.
Brooklyn gorilla.
He would if you look on the special features for the 10th anniversary edition of the Reservoir Dogs DVD, there's just like Chris Penn and Michael Madsen telling stories about Lawrence Tierney, and he was just like a total drunken menace. He would just like smash through walls, break up entire rooms. He'd
Walk through a wall and act like he had.
yeah, like
What's
Lawrence.
all this plaster doing on my shoulders?
Lawrence
What the
Tierney.
fuck? You're Mr. White.
Yeah. he couldn't get the line straight. You know, Tarantino's dialogue is so complex and kind of layered, and Lawrence Tierney, it was like, I can't get these words fucking straight. And then him and Tarantino just had a blow-up fight one day, and Tarantino was like, listen, you old fuck, you're gonna say these words right. And it was a whole scene, but
Tarantino said that?
yeah, they got a big a shouting match on set for Reservoir Dogs.
Awesome.
And,
Good for him.
Yeah.
First time director.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, that was definitely in his mind where he's like, I have to kind of stand my ground.
this is my
and,
shot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, I got to show these guys I'm the director on this set. And then
At
the
least
next
it's
day.
Lawrence Tierney,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
like Sonny Landham, somebody
Yeah.
who would have turned Quentin Tarantino into a fucking pretzel.
He would have
and,
made him
yeah.
look like Jerry Lewis after the massage, or during that massage.
Yeah. 5 Swedish women would have had to untangle him. But
I'm going to put your mouth on your asshole.
Tierney was the kind of guy who the next day he sobered up and came up to Tarantino and he's like, "Listen, kid, I'm sorry. Let's get on with it. We'll keep
You better get my coverage before noon.
I guess that Bela Lugosi wasn't a menace like that.
He got into the opiates at a certain point, and he was also an alcoholic. I think he's getting together with Ed Woods shortly after this movie.
He died like a year after this movie. So
Yeah,
it was
this is
around
like
that time.
This is swirling the drain.
Yeah.
When he was working with Ed Wood, at a certain point, he did go into rehab and try to get clean and stuff, but I guess it didn't quite work out.
Bela Lugosi plays Dr. Zabor in this movie. He's the
mad
island's
scientist.
mad scientist.
Seems like a okay guy at first.
Right.
Sure.
So, Chief's daughter, Nona, she walked Duke home to his hut. He's being pushy like Dean Martin. You know, you can't take a guy home and leave him with just a good night. And he thinks he's a real smooth talker. He's like not that smooth compared to Dean Martin.
No. This doesn't quite make sense. Like, why is this tribal princess all of a sudden in love with this uncharismatic Italian crooner? But okay, I'll buy
That's
it.
the allure of showbiz, baby.
He's a pretty good singer.
He's
I'll
okay,
give him
yeah.
He's
that.
pretty charismatic.
So she's like, oh, well, there's this Dr. Zabor on the island.
He's the only other white man on the island. He might be able to help you get off because
Yeah, he has special powers.
there's like every 2 months a boat comes to this island, and Duke Mitchell's like, 2 months? That ain't gonna cut it. I gotta
The
go.
troops need to see us now.
Yeah, like, they're fighting in Korea.
We've already been here for 3 months for us to grow our massive beards.
So she's like, well, we'll go to Dr. Zabor. He's got a radio. maybe he can radio in a boat or something. Or,
Yeah, do some Morse code or something.
Yes,
So they
but-
go to see him the next day.
The whole time, Sammy Petrillo's got cracks. Like, no, this is like 42nd and Broadway. And Duke
Yeah.
Mitchell's like, oh, what kind of crack is that? It's like, oh, if we were at 42nd and Broadway, we could go into the Automan. I could get a cup of coffee.
The automatic. I think I know this term from like Fallout games. Like, is this where you would go into like a diner type facility and it would have like an assembly line of
It's like
desserts
either
and
like a
stuff?
conveyor belt or like a big sort of vending machine where you go and you get like a slice of pie and like a
Cake
tuna
or
fish
something.
sandwich.
Okay.
'Cause you-
This kind of stuff's still popular in like Korea and stuff. I think I see YouTube videos.
Sure,
of it
yeah.
all the time. Yeah. Like
I
just
think
like,
maybe I saw that.
it was like
go
a
in
thing
and-
in like the 40s and 50s and like
yeah.
not quite a diner, not quite as formal as a diner, but it was a place where you could go and get like a cheap cup of coffee and a bite
not
to
as
eat.
formal as a diner. I don't have to put on my dickie to go to the automat.
Exactly. Like I'm not even sure if automats had tables.
Yeah.
They might have had like
Maybe not even plates. Maybe you just like put your mouth under a funnel and
everything came on its own plate. That was the beauty of it.
Oh my god.
You just grabbed your plate and there you go.
It was a better
It's
time.
like a buffet. Why wouldn't you just do a buffet?
It was like a buffet with
they weren't into French terms back then. They could,
there was a lot of mechanical parts that could go wrong. In the
they still had
automata.
some bitter feelings about the war, so they didn't do anything with cater any sort of French culture.
Fair enough. Sorry I asked.
Yeah.
Cancel me.
You ought to know better.
Your ignorance is really showing.
So Dr. Zabor, Sammy right away is like,
Doesn't this guy look like Dracula? Oh my, he's gonna suck on bloods.
and Zabor's like, I'm not going to. Or am I? Well, maybe I am. I don't know.
By the way, what an interesting cranium you have.
Yeah.
Just like grabbing him and like,
Yeah,
whoa.
he's like Mitch. He was fucking really getting the shape of this guy's skull.
yeah.
I appreciated that when I saw this. I was like, okay, a guy who knows phrenology, a guy who knows it's an established science. Yeah. There's not enough scientists these days who are into that kind of thing. It doesn't get taught in schools anymore.
So one thing about this movie is the science is sound throughout, and that's always nice to see.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Doctors-
that was impressive about Dr. Zabor.
He's a biologist of sorts, and he studies evolution, and he's very interested in not just the forward evolution, where people have like a propulsion to evolve into something better. He wants us like, but what if we take that and go backwards?
Yeah,
The reverse evolution. He actually gives a pretty good rundown
He
of
does.
Darwinian evolution.
It starts off
I
like
was
really
impressed.
good, and then
And
it's like,
then
and then
it
it
goes
kind of starts
crazy
going
off the rails.
really off the
Yeah.
rails at the end.
Yeah. We evolved from chimps.
It's like
And
the man, if we de-evolve a man, he turns into a gorilla. If we de-evolve a chimp, it turns into a spider monkey. It's like it's like the smaller version of a
Not quite
monkey.
right, but yeah.
Close enough,
He's
yeah.
like, oh, why don't you guys take some clothes from my wardrobe? It's like, look
Yeah.
at your tattered Hawaiian shirts and khakis. Why
Man.
don't you get some slightly less tattered Hawaiian shirts and khakis?
Get some silken robes and capes.
It's a weird look Duke Mitchell has throughout this because he's got the Hawaiian shirt on, but then he's got like the belly tied up, so it's like a crop top,
Oh, it's
and
hot.
he's like
It's
showing
humid.
off his belly. Like I haven't seen men doing that. I didn't know that was like a
he's
thing in
going
the 50s.
Full Christina Aguilera.
Yeah,
just
man.
showing off his bare midriff.
It made the tops of my shoes go like boing, boing,
Oh,
boing.
nice, Mitchell. Oh,
My dicky.
my Nicky only
My
flaps
Dicky's
when Duke
flapping.
Mitchell shows his midriff. Aye.
Oh, Dookie, flatten my dicky.
So Dr. Zabor he has this giant manservant who's a guy painted in brown face.
Chula.
Yeah.
Named Chula.
Chula.
Yeah, who has like a knife in his belt and he has no shirt on.
He's just there to get commanded by Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi be like, Chula, carry me to the bed. Or whatever. He does whatever Bela Lugosi says.
He's just a big freak.
Yeah.
in blackface, basically.
You're my servant, my manservant. I'm Hungarian.
He speaks caveman. It's a white guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, a caveman is 100% right. But it's like me carry you into bathroom. Me wipe when done.
Well, Bela Lugosi was pretty infirm at that point.
But Bela Lugosi is a super gracious host. He takes in these two people.
Super gracious actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
grows
So
them.
game for this movie, and I love that about
Very
him.
generous.
So Bela Lugosi's kind of like Roddy McDowall, where like he'll show up and he'll do the work for the day or the feud. Like this movie was shot in like 7
Bela
days or
Lugosi
something.
didn't need to fix his car like Roddy McDowell.
Yeah.
Like Bela Lugosi needed to fix his habit.
Yeah, Bela Lugosi was like, I've got the shakes right now, and I think I'm going to die in the next 12 minutes unless I get my next fix.
Yeah.
So please give me a role right now. He's been in some of the shittiest movies of all time, the lowest budget shit, because he was trying to get his fix, but he always does give it his all. Even when he has to wrestle with like a rubber monster in an Ed Wood movie and there's tentacles on him and weird stuff like that.
Like I used to write pub trivia. I did a gladiator round where it was either one or the other, a 50-50 shot, and it was a porno movie title or a Bela Lugosi exploitation movie title. And yeah, they were pretty much indistinguishable. I mean,
There could be a fine line.
but there were lots of these movies. I mean, obviously Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn Grilly. You know what you're getting. But
And it paid off.
just that latter half of his career is just a lot of pornographic titles. Bizarre stuff.
A movie I watched like a couple nights before I watched this one was the Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. That was like, I think, the last role where Bela Lugosi reprised the Dracula role and he's wearing the cape and everything.
Yeah.
And I
that
thought
was like a long time after the original Dracula, too.
Yeah.
Do you think people like lost their mind like when Michael Keaton played Batman again? It's like, oh my god, he's putting the cape on again.
the people
Yeah.
in Letterboxd reviews
I
definitely
think
did.
they did, but nobody fucking cared when Michael Keaton played Batman.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, people were pumped. Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. They go against the Wolfman. They go against Frankenstein.
They got
go
Lon
against
Chaney.
Dracula. Yeah. Oh,
In that
yeah.
one. He's great. in that.
Lon Chaney, original Wolfman, Universal originator of the role. Bela Lugosi, the original Universal. It was a great monster mash. Universal did a few of those monster mashes, but
The monster.
How
fuck.
did you like that one? I didn't find it funny enough.
I don't think Abbott and Costello are my go-to comedy duo. This was like the first time I've seen it, Abbott and Costello, in a long time. I pictured Costello would be a lot more like Jackie Gleason or something. He's a little more subdued than that, which I wasn't expecting, but I enjoyed it well enough, but I wasn't busting a gut at it.
Bela Lugosi is just a super gracious host, and he's showing them all around, and he shows them his monkey cages where he keeps all of his apes and stuff like that, and he lets out Ramona the chimp, in my mind, the star of the movie.
Oh yeah, she's great. She can do anything. She can unlock her cage. She can lock her cage. She can open a door. She's one of the most talented chimps I ever saw. Ramona is one of the least threatening chimps I think we've done on the pod.
Well, I don't know. There's like some Sammy Petrillo has to do some very close acting with the chimp, and there's one point where right around here where he's holding Ramona,
Yeah.
and she's just kind of like giving him a kiss on the lips and kind of like grabbing his face, and he's
the-
visibly uncomfortable.
Those are the menacing scenes. Like, there's a scene where he's lying in bed with Ramona later, and his eyes are closed, and Ramona's face is right next to his face, and I'm like, okay, this chimp could bite his face off right now.
He's
but-
he's like very aware that he can't, as an actor, he can't scream at that point.
Yeah.
There's a
I was
very
wondering.
strong chance that
Because, like, I thought he was going to open his eyes, see the chimp, and then go,
yeah.
but I was like, yeah, you can't do that. The
It's just
chimp,
kinda like-
it'll bite your lips off.
He acts like you do when you like see a bear's like, oh, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
I didn't mean to be here. Like,
Dun 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 dun.
yes,
Dun 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 dun.
I was still feeling a very strong element of danger. Anytime Ramona, as charming as she is, anytime she was on the screen, I was a little worried.
And what a face Sammy Petrillo has.
Yeah.
Just looks delicious.
Yeah, it does. I don't know whose face I'd rather eat, Lewis or Petrillo, but it's
Petrillo's probably, I don't know, looks a little more tender.
yeah.
Smokes less cigarettes, if any at all.
Saute those cheeks up with some butter.
Yeah, that's the best
And
part of the
shave that off onto a pita. A little bit of sweet condensed milk sauce with some garlic.
Now you're talking. That's the traditional cuisine of the Cola Islands, if I'm not mistaken. So
So they show them around, and Duke Mitchell's basically like, very interesting lab. Where's that sweet baby? Where's she at? Come on, baby.
is there a toots around here to be pinched on the bottom?
And then we get a scene where we see Zabor. He loves Nona, the chief's daughter, and he's like, "Why don't you accept my proposal? You shall love me."
He doesn't-
so sad and pathetic.
He doesn't understand why she loves Duke Mitchell. And frankly, I don't either. I kind of relate to him. It's like, yeah, why don't you go for Dr. Zabor? This guy's like a uppity up on your island
Is
here.
there
Yeah,
like
he's got his shit together.
Is there a none of the above
Yeah.
choice though? Like,
Is there a I'm a future queen of this nation, so maybe I don't have to date this Italian crooner?
There's got to be some better men on this island.
you would think so.
Chula.
But
That
alas,
guy's probably hung.
Oh
like
yeah, that guy's a
fucking Great
warrior.
Dane.
Man, that's got to be like a prized mate.
so hung like a Great Dane.
Hung like a French.
I don't mean the dog. I mean like a Danish man.
Yeah.
like
Like Viggo
Harold the Blue
Mortensen.
Dother. Yeah.
Well, it's appropriate because Nona's as sexy as a French poodle, if you ask me.
Oh.
Ramona the chimp gets given the key to leave her cell, and she locks Sammy in. Right?
Yeah, Ramona
She's
has a
just
crush on
fucking
Sammy.
with Sammy this entire movie.
I think she's into him. She's
big
like,
time.
she doesn't understand that she's a chimp, or maybe Sammy is like so not quite evolved enough to come off as a human. Like maybe he comes off as a chimp to her. I don't know, but yeah, she's romantically interested.
Like Jerry Lewis to Shirley MacLaine, Sammy Petrillo just doesn't understand that Ramona the chimp is sexually interested in him.
Yeah, man.
Sexually.
Two-ton salami wants him. Ramona wants him. Everybody wants to get with this guy. It doesn't make sense, but
2-ton dump truck.
he's like the bullies from Heather. Like, stay away from me, two-ton salami. Ah! She's an attractive lady. Like, she's a bigger lady, but it's like he's like, she's the fattest woman that ever lived.
Wait for me in the glove compartment, would you?
Oh my god!
He keeps making vehicle jokes to her. He's like,
You're the fattest thing I've ever seen, and I've been on safari.
yeah, she's always chasing him through the woods and stuff, trying to hook up with him. But
Duke Mitchell and Sammy Petrillo, it's an upgrade. Instead of staying in their thatched hut, now they get to stay in Bela Lugosi's creepy castle. Bela Lugosi, he's such a brooding guy. He's like, Chula, go to bed so I can just stare at this bottle of whiskey and think my scientist thoughts. There's a good stretch here where he's just like brooding over a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah,
He's in
it's
his
like, can we
cups.
get any good footage of Lugosi? We paid him for the day, and it's like, he's drinking. Well, put the camera on him.
yeah, exactly.
I let it roll.
This isn't a Dean Martin scenario where he would like the guy in Trailer Park Boys, Julian, how he always has a drink whenever Dean Martin's like on the Tonight
Well,
Show.
like
or anything.
Leahy on
Leahy's
Trailer Park
always
Boys.
drunk,
That guy
yeah.
was never drunk. He never drank.
Exactly.
Terrific.
And he's one of the best drunk actors I've ever seen. Just fantastic.
That was 100%, I think, Dean Martin shtick. He always appeared with a drink, and he always acted kind of drunk, but he wasn't quite drunk. But Bela Lugosi, on the other hand, he acted like he wasn't drunk, but he was loaded. It's like a reverse Dean Martin.
And that's why we're doing these two movies.
Yeah.
We're going to do the Dean Martin and the reverse Dean Martin.
Exactly.
Which,
There's-
as it turns out, is Bela Lugosi.
The yin to the yang.
So the island's law representative there is Pepe Bordo, who has the only wireless outfit. He promises to communicate with a passing ship, and Sammy's like,
Oh, well, you could use that Morse code, like.
Man,
and it's like, that's supposed to be a funny bit. He goes,
Well, you do the beep beep.
you know what, though? I bet if you understood Morse code, that was probably something really hilarious, he said. I personally, I don't understand Morse code, so it didn't work for me, but I was like, I bet that joke's hilarious.
Beep, beep, boop, beep, beep, boop, boop, boop.
Or-
nothing. Beep, 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 boop, 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 beep, 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 boop.
here's some Morse code for you. Beep, beep, boop, boop, beep, beep. That's SOS. Save us from this bad comedy.
See,
Same as Save Us from Sammy Petrillo.
I thought you were talking... I didn't understand it. I thought you were talking about my mother there or something for a while, but...
Dr. Zabor accompanies Pepe Bordo to the outside. Duke and Nona are kissing. Duke walks Nona back to the village.
She's fully into him. Like, apropos of nothing, she's like, they're like soulmates at this point. They're like total love interests. They're gonna get married. there's no conflict. Like,
Well, the conflict is whether he wants to stay there and live on the island or go
yeah.
back to his life of performing abroad.
Well, it is, yeah, it
His
is.
glamorous life that he's living. He should probably stay here with this 10, if you ask me.
It's charitable to think that they jumped out of that plane or fell out by accident when really they were probably just kicked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably bang their head on the way down. They have
You sing
amnesia.
Deed I Do one more time, I'm throwing you out of this fucking plane.
What did I say? Do I, whoa.
But he'll be like courting Nona. Nona is the future queen of the island, and he'll be like, "Oh, babe, once we get back to New York, I can do some. We can sing in some lounges and stuff." And she's like, "Okay, but yeah, like I'm the future queen of the island. I kind of have to stay here." And he's like,
You don't get it. You could stay on my pull-out sofa
"Yeah."
while you find
like-
book yourself some gigs.
I think my music career is a little more important than your monarchy on this island. Don't you think so, babe? And I gotta sing the Ring-a-Tony song at cousin Nikki's wedding. I don't think we have a time for you to be playing around on the island with the tribals.
I gotta be at a bar mitzvah in Newark next April.
You won't have any
Petrillo's.
time to rule any island once I stop popping kids into you.
Now they're making it work.
So at this point in the movie, I'm wondering, like, we got a chimp. Right, so who's the gorilla
Yeah,
that
what-
Bela Lugosi meets? Is it Duke Mitchell? Is he the Brooklyn gorilla?
Yeah.
Where's it going? Ramona is not from Brooklyn, so far as we've been known.
No.
Maybe that's just bad writing.
And she's a chimp. I'm like, did they know the difference between a chimp and a gorilla?
Based on the jungle footage earlier, questionable.
Yeah.
Ramona she unlocks herself and she goes and cuddles up real close to Sammy Petrillo in bed, and here's where they have that scene we talked about earlier where
Yeah.
he wakes up and then Ramona takes him back into the cage. Just they sneak him right past the drunken stupor Bela Lugosi. He doesn't notice any of this happening at all.
He's passed out in the living room. His
I'm sure
castle
for
has
real.
like 3 areas. There's like the lab, there's the living room, and then there's the bedrooms. So basically the rest of the movie bounces between those 3 areas and the tribal village.
And
Poor
sometime
Bella is just nodding off on Boy.
Yeah.
Boy is what we call it. Us
Yeah.
heroin addicts.
A little bit
That's
of
what we call it.
He's on the horse.
he's getting the nods.
Poor guy.
Yeah, he's like a jazz musician or something.
Oh,
He's out of it, man.
I love that jazz musician is the go-to for heroin addicts. Sadly accurate.
Sadly accurate.
Yeah. Well, you better stay awake if you're playing for the Rat Pack.
Yeah.
Or even for Mitchell.
Yeah.
Duke Mitchell.
I don't cut into that kind of thing.
And now we get another evening, and Dr. Zabor and Chula arrive to share a meal with the chief and Nona and Saloma, the fat girl, and Duke and Sammy and the witch doctor. And we get like some jokes about the witch doctor never taking off his mask. He eats and like the jaw piece goes up and down. And Sammy's like,
You think you sleep with that thing on?
It's like, did you see that Dookie? His mouth moved up and down when he ate the food.
Boy, isn't that silly.
Oh, I don't know how I feel about animatronics. Yeah, it's a bit of an awkward dinner, though. Like, anytime Bela Lugosi is your dinner guest, it's
Yeah.
you're going to have to do most of the heavy lifting in that conversation.
Yeah.
he just kind of looks at people. That's his whole thing.
Yeah.
Just makes everyone uncomfortable.
Shifty-eyed bastard.
Yeah.
The chief doesn't really have much to say to him. There's some sexiness going on here because you've got 2 potential couples here. There's Nona and Duke Mitchell. They kind of sneak off from this dinner. They go out.
There's like 8 people around the table or something. There's not a lot of people, and it's a small hut. And so one of them will go out the front door, and one of them will go out the back door, and just like Bela Lugosi will just kind of like shift his eyes back and forth, and like the chief will just kind of like keep eating his food, and then just kind of like pleasantly nodding as though nothing's happening.
Yeah, he doesn't realize that Duke Mitchell's taking his daughter out back to do hanky-panky. That's what they called it.
I think he does.
Yeah.
Like, how could you not? How could
Yeah,
you
maybe he
not?
likes it. Maybe he's like, hey, man, this guy's a crooner from New York.
Hanky panky's a Hawaiian word for finger blasting.
You do it after a luau, you eat some poi, and then you do hanky-panky.
Eat some boy. So Duke proposes marriage to Nona
But Nona kind of proposes to him. She gives him like a necklace to put around his neck. And
Yeah,
she's
it's
like,
very important.
man, in your culture, the man proposes and gives a ring, but in my culture, I give a necklace around your neck. And
We like to do things a little differently around here.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's very empowered for the era.
Yeah, and Duke Mitchell's, he's all aboard. He's all aboard. Just gotta come and move into my small bachelor apartment in Queens.
Yeah. Oh,
I just don't mind the pizza boxes and knock over like that.
that tribe went nuts.
Knock
when
them
he
off the
was
bed.
singing.
You could have the other half.
He should live in the tribe. He should be their entertainer, their jester.
Honestly, like if you are some middle of the road crooner entertainer and you have the option to be like king of an island, like you're just gonna be a figurehead. No one's gonna expect you to do anything. Like
Yeah. Best of
Nona,
all
she's
worlds.
educated. She's been trained her whole life for this job. Just let her do the thing, and you just get to show up and sing to these islanders
Yeah.
who have.
Pacify the villagers, just croon them a song when they get uppity, and just be like, "Hey, baby."
Well, yeah, and like not like and it's all new to them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like magic to them. It's witchcraft.
It's witchcraft.
Hey, baby.
I put a spell on you.
I never hear harmony before. What this music? So yeah, this is going on, and Bela Lugosi kind of gives like Chula like the nod, and this is when you know that Chula definitely has done wet work in the past. He's like he's intention evil.
He's a killer.
Oh yeah, he's ready to dismember, maim, whatever he has
You
to
name
do.
it, yeah. Chula does. Chula go do.
Dr. Zabor puts on his black cape. He listens to Chula describe Duke and Nona's marriage plans. And then back in the laboratory, Dr. Zabor injects Ramona, reversing her evolution and turning her into a small monkey with a little tail.
Yeah.
Doesn't bode well for our hero Duke Mitchell. Whatever's gonna happen.
It's not quite how evolution works, but we get the point. Big monkey turns into small monkey. That's how it works.
We need Neil deGrasse Tyson here to take down the preposterous science of this movie.
Just his head fell off. He was shaking it so hard. Like,
Actually, putting thumpers into sand would not attract sandworms.
is he taking pot shots at Dune?
Oh, yeah, he was.
Jesus.
The night sky in scene 1 of Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla doesn't have the right constellations.
Based on the time of year they shot it and where it was geographically.
Damn,
That's
that guy's been coasting off that tweet on Titanic
yeah.
for fucking years. Good thing I have a handy Wikipedia plot synopsis that's as detailed as I want it to be.
because my notes are things like Chula does wet work, all caps, gorilla punch.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take the reins, and then unless you guys have funny interjections, just let me blow through this plot. So the following morning, as Nona returns to the laboratory, Dr. Zabor realizes that the serum's effect was only temporary, and Ramona has turned back into a chimp. Duke is on his way to see Pepe Bordo, but is ambushed by Chula, who carries him to the laboratory where Dr. Zabor tells Nona that the day's work is done and that she should take Sammy to the village at. She injects Duke with the serum and watches him turn into a fucking gorilla.
Dun dun. He's the
now
Brooklyn
we get
gorilla.
the fucking Brooklyn gorilla finally.
Yep. Zabor gives him the formula. When Chula captured him in the woods, he lost his proposal necklace that Nona gave him. It got hooked onto a tree branch there. So Nona and Sammy Petrillo don't have any clue where Duke Mitchell is, but now he's been transformed into a gorilla and he's being kept in the cage.
And transforming someone into a gorilla is the perfect crime, is it not? Mm-hmm. No one's gonna believe you that it happened. No one's gonna even look there.
It's the perfect crime.
There's an element of extreme body horror to this because Duke Mitchell turns into a gorilla, but he knows he's still Duke Mitchell, but he's trapped in this gorilla
He can
body.
still croon.
Yeah. Eventually, Sammy Petrillo is trying to find Duke Mitchell, and eventually he goes in and he's having the chat with the gorilla, and he's realizes there's something weird with the gorilla.
The gorilla's kind of trying to do some weird sign language, and that's
Yeah.
not really getting. So
It starts crooning, and there's some horrible moments where you don't know if Duke Mitchell is going to be turned back into a human being, and Sammy Petrillo is talking to him, and he's like, "Hey, don't worry, Duke. Even if you stay a gorilla, we could have a really great comedy duo. You could be a singing gorilla, and I could be the comedy act, and
honestly, way more successful than
that would be amazing." Yeah. That's way
So
more
does this
impressive.
predate the island of Dr. Moreau? That story?
I feel like
Because it's pretty similar.
it probably predates some movies, but I think that story was written in like the 1800s or something.
Who wrote that?
I have
Was
no
that
idea.
like Robert Louis Stevenson or something?
Good question.
We'll find out.
Oh, man, we don't
H.G.
have to.
Wells.
H.G. Wells. Okay, so that's about this time. A little before
Yeah.
it.
But yeah, this is like this has to be one of the early body horror movies when I think about it.
1896 it came out.
Yeah. Wow.
Aha. So yeah, that was an old trope by this point.
Yeah, this is
Men turning into
hack writing, turning people into
Yeah.
gorillas. Been there, done that.
You know, in the heart of a man, every man, there's a beast.
So yeah, like Sammy Petrillo, he's found out that his buddy is turned into a gorilla, and it's a gorilla that doesn't have the mind of a gorilla. It still has the mind and the abilities of a Duke Mitchell.
Yeah.
And so he springs his buddy.
So the mind of a gorilla.
Yeah.
And the abilities of Duke Mitchell.
He's like, if only I had the mind of a gorilla, I could be able to solve this problem. But I'm just Duke Mitchell.
Maybe if I was a gorilla, I could figure out how to get off this island. But
I could figure out how to solve this long division.
And like
Carry the what?
Sammy Petrillo has like an idiot savant thing going on where he's like a man baby, like a mentally challenged guy through most of the movie, but every once in a while he'll throw out some like weird terms that he understands from this evolution process. He's like, adaptation, I understand it perfectly. Or
Yeah, he like repeats the whole thing back to him. He's like,
Like, well, actually, the things with the evolution is you're going down and it's
he's secretly a genius.
yeah.
Bela Lugosi is like, yes. And Duke Mitchell's like, what are you talking about?
I ain't never heard nothing like that in Brooklyn.
Yeah, they spring the gorilla. They spring Duke Mitchell out, and they're making a run for it. And here we get some good gorilla punches where he's knocking out the people, Chula, and people who are trying to stop him.
Now he's got the strength of a gorilla. He can combat the manservant.
I would take a gorilla body if I knew I wouldn't immediately be poached.
Yeah, man. If I could keep my brain,
If I could still croon,
and I'd be stronger than any human. I could eat as much nuts and berries as I wanted.
Bela Lugosi, he wants to chase him down, so he goes to the tribal. He goes to like the chief, and basically he puts a hit out on Ramona. He says like, my serum it turned Ramona into a gorilla.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to be. If you see Ramona, just kill him.
She's quite dangerous. You can't even
Shoot
talk
on
to
sight.
her. Don't ask her to croon. It won't. This is Ramona evolved into a gorilla, quite vicious. There's like a gorilla in the woods, in the jungle.
A female gorilla.
It doesn't make sense because like
Who's lovesick and is chasing down.
This movie's just all about things fucking people who don't want to be fucked by them, left and right.
Sammy Petrillo frees Duke Mitchell as a gorilla, the Brooklyn gorilla, from a cage. But instead of like escaping the mansion, they just go upstairs into the mansion bedrooms and just hang out there for a while. Like they don't try to escape the facility or anything.
I did this thing earlier where I woke up next to Ramona, and we didn't really get a chance to do exactly what I wanted to do.
Let me show you. Chula, they like knocked Chula out on the bottom floor, but he just like leaves, even though they're upstairs in the bedroom, and he goes to the village and like
Why would Chula ever think that they went upstairs to the bedroom?
he would
Of
never
course he's gonna
suspect
go
that.
to,
Yeah,
like-
it's actually the most brilliant plan. He's an idiot savant.
And so we find out that Bela Lugosi is kind of the bad guy all along. Turns out he's one of those mad scientists who's not interested in preserving the lives of those around him. He just kind of wants to do.
Yeah, he's in love with Nona too.
Sure,
he doesn't
yeah.
like that this fucking greasy little Guido from fucking Pennsylvania is making a
what?
move on the one attractive woman on
She's
the
turned
island.
down my goulash one too many times.
Dr. Zabor and Chula, they've got rifles and they're in pursuit of this fucking gorilla. They aim the rifles at him, they catch up to him, and they open fire.
Yeah,
And
Zabor's gone mask off. Like he shows up in the village. The villagers know that the Brooklyn gorilla is Duke Mitchell. And they're like, well, we have to prevent Zabor from, and Zabor's like, prevent me from what? He like comes into the village with his rifle.
His heel turn is complete.
Yeah, he's out to kill. He's gonna murder and
But he does what I've wanted somebody to do this entire movie, and that's shoot Sammy Petrillo.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. He did what the people on that airplane did when they pushed them out of the airplane and finally put an end to this nightmare. Yeah, he's trying to shoot the Brooklyn gorilla.
But don't worry. So Sammy Petrillo gets shot.
He takes the shot
He
for the
jumps
gorilla.
in front of
Yes.
it. He's like
Yes.
a Secret Service
does
guy.
no.
And Whitney Houston starts singing.
Yeah, he's mortally wounded. It's a bad shot in his gut.
And
And he wakes up. It
The
was all
ultimate
a dream.
cop-out ending. The same ending North has.
It's
It was-
also the same ending Wizard of Oz has because it's
That is
that's
true.
because it's like
Wizard of
and
Oz
you were
is the-
there and you were there.
It's way more Wizard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
there
think
is-
this movie ripped off North, Mitchell. Just-
No. North ripped off Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla.
No, it's 100% the Wizard of Oz ending. And I was trying to think of like other movies that do this ending well. Like Wizard of Oz is the first one. It gets a pass, but it inspired so many
Yeah.
inspirations.
It had to
Wizard
only
of
work
Oz, it makes sense.
Yeah.
once or twice this ending works. After that, it's the ultimate cop-out ending.
But yeah, so he wakes up and Duke Mitchell's like, "No, we're in the jungle room at this club in New Jersey. We're
We're
about to
in
go on the
Poseidon,
stage."
New Jersey.
Yeah.
Everybody through the whole movie pops up here. Nona is like a magician. She looks like Zatanna from the DC comics. She's
Yeah.
got like like a top hat and like
Totally.
fishnets. And the chief of the tribe is a man in a gorilla suit. He takes his hat off and he's
Bela
like,
Lugosi's the club owner. He's
Yeah.
like, "Get out there. You owe me 20 minutes."
well, I guess it was all a dream.
Dr. Zabor is the manager who advises him. He's like, you better get some belly laughs this time or else you'll be collecting unemployment insurance.
So-
and then finally we see like Saloma, the fat girl. She's like a dancer in a Polynesian type act.
Yeah.
She embraces Sammy, gives him a big kiss.
And he's
Eh.
like, that was good. I don't know what I was so scared from. I liked kissing you on your lips.
Well, that's indeed I do.
Turns out I get bonus from all body shapes.
diddly diddly do.
And yeah, Duke Mitchell really takes this one for a walk. It's like, baby, 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 do I do?
Happy ending.
God damn it, somebody loved this movie. Not us. That's the end.
Yeah.
A Jack Border production.
Not
Thank you,
quite
Jack
80 minutes
Border.
long, but boy, did it feel like an hour and a half. It felt like longer.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
I
glad
loved
it was
this movie.
A merciful 80 minutes.
74, but yeah. Yikes.
Times there was like stock footage and stuff like that, and
With those Tubi commercials, it was a chore.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up.
That was Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla.
wow,
Yeah.
what a great film.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
You know what I love? I love comedic duos who croon. So I loved both these films.
Yeah. If you're a comedic duo and you're not crooning, you can just stuff it.
Yeah.
I don't need it.
Go back to Cola Cola. Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla. It does have a reputation as a bad movie, so I have to say my expectations were super low going in. I kind of walked away from that movie being like, I have a certain warmth in my heart for Sammy Petrillo and Duke Mitchell. They're not amazing. They're not. The Jerry Lewis act is kind of intentionally annoying, but I was like, I don't know. I got a warm spot in my heart for this, but I walked away from Artists and Models being like, I kind of love this movie. I don't know. I loved the song and dance numbers. I love the beautiful Vista vision. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis work for me. Shirley MacLaine is a total joy. I give a big old thumbs up to Artists and Models, and I give it a strong recommend.
That's a pretty strong recommend. I don't know.
I'm not a huge fan of Jerry Lewis. I did develop a fondness for Petrillo and Mitchell. These kind of never has-beens.
They've got major underdog energy compared to like Martin and Lewis,
Yeah.
where you're like, I can get behind these scrappy upstart guys.
They're medium talents.
yeah.
I appreciate that as a medium talent
Exactly.
myself.
They had good careers in the industry.
Kinda, yeah.
They worked till they died.
Yeah,
Oh,
respect to them.
That's more than
That
most
sounds
people
horrible,
get.
actually.
But Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla. The movie's not very funny. It is kind of shot and looks cheap like shit, and it didn't really have a chance against Artists and Models, a movie that looks amazing.
Yeah, it really does. I mean,
That's the strongest thing it has going for it. It just fucking looks great.
from the opening scene in Artists and Models where they have that big billboard and there's all these like mechanics behind it, like mechanical things for the comedy bits. I'm like, Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla. The budget, they could not do the first gag in Artists and Models. Like blew the budget of Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla.
Maybe if it was in color, and like normally I am fine with a black and white movie, but the color really won out on this one. It's got to be the high pick. That's Martin and Lewis's Artists and Models.
So, yeah, I think because of all that, because there are so many other better choices in the well for that time period from MGM, there's also other movies of the era that look better. I'm going Brooklyn Gorilla. It's 74 minutes. It's a curio. You pop it in. It's unlike anything you've ever seen before. I find Jerry Lewis insufferable, and Sammy Petrillo is a carbon copy of Jerry Lewis, so I also found him insufferable, but I had to do so for like 20 less minutes than I did with Artists and Models, or maybe even more. Yeah, it's Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla is bizarre. It's short. It's a little over an hour long. I didn't like either of these movies that much, but I think if you're gonna watch one, check out the Brooklyn Gorilla, because I haven't seen anything quite like that, and I've seen a lot of things that are better than Artists and Models. It has production value, and it looks good, and honestly, I think that it's a better movie, but I think that there are better examples of it to watch. Yeah, this Brooklyn Gorilla one is weird.
If nothing else, with Artists and Models, it is just so cool to kind of immerse yourself in that mid-50s world with those sets, and like it's like Mad Men. It's like watching an episode of Mad Men.
You can stop writing the letters. We've covered Artists and Models and Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla.
Yeah, that one's for the fans.
Yeah, and maybe in the future we'll do some of Sammy Petrillo's other movies, like he did. Do we have to? At a certain point, Sammy Petrillo got a. I can't remember.
At a certain point, this is just going to be a Sammy Petrillo podcast. What are we doing next time, Luke?
I heard there's a new Bob Dylan movie coming out starring Timothy Chalamet. So I thought maybe I'd steer us in the direction of a couple of Bob Dylan movies for our podcast. One of my favorite artists ever. For our high movie, we're going to do Don't Look Back, D.A. Pennebaker's classic documentary film. And for the low movie, we're going to talk Larry Charles's Not So Loved, Bob Dylan starring vehicle, Masked and Anonymous.
Well, until next time when we're going
to do Dylan next time.
Till we do Dylan next time. This has been High and Low. If this has been something you've enjoyed, please rate, review, subscribe, share with any low lives you might think would enjoy this type of thing.
Yeah.
So until next time when we go to Bob Dylan Town, I'm Vonn.
I'm Mitchell.
I'm Luke.
Smell you later.
Bye.